People think training athletes is more difficult and more challenging. It's not even close. The athlete is an athlete. Well, now I'm putting aside injury. I saw Ryan Reynolds break his neck and back on set. The actor is an actor. Most of them are non-athletic.
It's time to sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk. All right, guys, we're back with another episode of Table Talk. Today is Don Saladino. I have a list of things here in a specific order. Coach, keynote speaker, health, entrepreneur, husband, father of two. Over 3 decades as a coach, just launched the Stronger podcast a couple days ago. And you work with celebrities. So I'm pivoting this a little bit differently than everybody else has done, to where they're just kind of like, boom, that's the biggest thing.
Trying to whore me out for all the celebs.
Yeah. So my jump off question for you is, how did you go from a special ed kid to selling your own house to keep your gym alive?
Dude, I've never had anyone do that. So, I actually love it. Give me stuff like that. I think everything led to the next step, right? I think that special ed piece, that stutter I had, that hearing problem that I had, I mean, it's probably one of the greatest things that ever happened to me in my life. Looking back on it now, I remember being in 2nd grade, going home to my mom. She was very supportive of me. I love her to death, but just going home, at that time, they weren't worrying about separating or kids' feelings. They took the kids that were struggling and they put us in a classroom, right? Like being on the short bus, right?
Yeah.
Like the short bus pulls up to the school and 5 kids come off and all the big buses and everyone's sitting there. Like, they don't do that stuff nowadays. But looking back on it now, I think some of the best relationships in my life were formed there. It taught me to be really tough. And it taught me, it allowed me to feel significant with specific things in my life, right? My fitness. I learned to communicate with people.
Well, to dial it back a little bit, because I was one of those kids, right? Yeah. So I had
we probably all were, like most of us in here in this business were, but that's also why most of the guys that you meet, like guys like you, I've been around some West Side guys. I listened to Louis speak in Philly, not to interrupt, but big guys. I'm a young kid going up to them. I'm like, hey kid, how you doing, man? And I'm like, wow, these guys are really nice. And they were always the most welcoming. So I just wanted to cut it.
Yeah, I had on the main desk in the main room, I had this picture of a clock, which told me what time, I was supposed to go into the special ed class. And now during that time, you're too young to really know, you know what I'm saying? But you know that, the other kids aren't treating you the same and all this other stuff. And you were rebelling. I was rebelling, a lot. But the further you get away from it, the less it kind of pisses you off, because it did create a drive. But what I think it did, at least in my case, is having that personal instruction I never would have gotten if they just would have kept me in the class. So realistically, it was the best call.
100%.
Where in my case, there were tracking people to get through how our high school was going to be. So it was either going to be college prep, just graduate, or tech, or not tech, but whatever, wood shop and all that kind of stuff was. I got tracked into just graduate, right? So athletics definitely helped me, right? Because it allowed me to become, the person everybody fucked with to the person nobody wanted to fuck with. Did you have the tracking with that?
Tracking meaning what?
Basically what classes you end up taking. So when I migrated from elementary schools to junior high, it was things like rock science instead of biology, business math, basic math instead of.
Yeah, it's that's why I was asking. We never really used that term tracking. I mean, what we did do is we had extra help rooms or resource rooms, and we would be taking normal classes, but you then would have a period where a tutor would be there with you, which to be honest was the best, because you normally end up knocking out your homework. They force you to stay a little bit more focused. I mean, my tutors were like smoking hot at the time. So I'm in there as like even 12, 13, like they wanted to remove me from class, special ed class when I was 15, 16. I'm like, really? Like, I'm happy here. I get my homework done early and I got these 2 hot teachers working with me and my friends. So we had that, and it was really helpful. And I wasn't a bad student. I was B3, 3.2 student. I went off to a good school, but I played collegiate baseball. I played Division I baseball, and that drive, I just felt like I always had kind of a gear, a chip. I always knew wasn't going to be the fastest, wasn't going to be the strongest, but I could control that work ethic. So going in and, at a young age, we were talking earlier about the things that you did back then. Like I was a runner, and I was trying to be, develop strength and speed and power. So I was going out running like 5-6 miles in like under 30 minutes. At 219 pounds, I was getting timed at like I think I ran a 4:52 mile once as a pretty decent size, middle-sized white boy, as I would say. But but that was like I was good at that because I was able to push and I was able to I felt like I could control that gear, and that was something that I think really separated me through life and even in business. I just love that work component. And I felt like that was the one thing I can control. And I tell my son today, I'm like, listen, man, you're not gonna be the strongest. You're not gonna be the best looking. You're not gonna be the fastest. You can work the hardest and you can treat the people the best. And if you do that and you're passionate about something, I think that's a good formula. When
and where did you think that started to manifest?
Like that mental component, high school, definitely. High school, definitely. I think there was a couple of times where you went out and running with the team, or actually, I'm going to back it up. I think the second or third grade when I was going through those problems, my father was a ball player growing up too, and we start practicing a lot. He was in catering. So like blue collar mentality, my dad would throw on like a tuxedo and go to work, and weddings, bar mitzvahs, sweet 16. So at a young age, they put a tux on me at 7 years old. I was sweeping floors at 12. I was working full time by 13, 14, like literally on top of sports, like going in, working. There were days I'd go with my father on a Saturday at 10 a.m. If I didn't have sports, I'd work to 3 a.m. the next day. So watching my father communicate, watching him get into some scraps because there were 5 rooms at the same time where they're hosting bar mitzvahs, sweet 16s, bat mitzvahs. So you have 5 rooms going on at the same time. 2,000 people can be in this catering hall. And my father was managing this process. So we walk around room to room. There were some drunk people. There was some stuff going on. I remember my dad opening the door, like an orgy's going on in the room. I was like, fuck, like just stuff going on that you think is hilarious, but people are drinking, they're partying, and that's what happens. So my dad had this gift to communicate with people that I've never seen in a human being, even to this day, to diffuse situations, and everyone loved him. So he starts practicing with me and he's influencing me, and I don't even really know what I'm learning at the time. And then I remember showing up to a game, kind of an inter-school game, and just cleaning up and coming home looking at my mom being like, I'm good. And she's kind of like, you're going to be good at a lot of things. And I remember that was the moment. I think that was a major turning point in my life, because then baseball became this like, that was it. That's all I wanted to do. And then I started looking at guys in magazines like Arnold, and I remember seeing him in The Running Man and watching him sprinting down the that airport area, being chased, and never seeing someone of that size run with that type of athleticism and being like, I want to be like that. And then I remember at a young age seeing Michael Hearn on a cover of Iron Man and being like, Mike's probably 7-8 years older than me. So Mike at the time's 19. So I'm what, like 12, 13, and being like, holy shit, like these big guys, but they look like they can move. So I think that it was like a combination of those two things and my dad that really projected me.
How did that work when you were playing collegiate baseball? Because I'm sure the coaches were not big fans.
I was a 2-year captain. My coach loved me. His guy's name was Nick Giaquinto. He was fullback for John Riggins. He won a Super Bowl for the Washington Redskins, which is ironic because he's coaching baseball. But he was all about mental toughness. So when I went out for the team freshman year, whether you're recruited or not, you go out, there was 70 guys, freshmen on the line. And my senior year, there was 1 guy left, and it was me. 69 guys dropped out. So it was all because he just loved beating the shit out of people, and I loved getting the shit kicked out of me. So
he played like a beast, man.
Beast. So he, so Nick, Nick came out last summer and golfed with me. Like we're still really close. He was at my opening of my first club. So for me, he would look at me and be like, "Don't like we have a team workout today. You practice, but the lift, just go do your own thing." And I'd be like, "Why?" He goes, "Guys don't want to work out with you."
Yeah.
So I'm kidding everyone's face. So that to me was. That I was like, looking back on it now, I'm like, oh, maybe I should have worked out with him, but I don't know. I just was doing my own thing and he was happy with it. But I remember going to games and stepping in the batter's box and my legs would be like this because I couldn't not, it was squat day. I didn't think about, well, it's game day too. Like maybe we should back off this phase, and maybe because you're in season, go to a maintenance. Let's cut down on the volume. Let's cut down the intensity, get some of the big lifts in, focus on mobility. Like, no, this was like the Arnold Schwarzenegger Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding before we're playing Bowling Green down in.
Well, that'd be weird with baseball though, because you're playing multiple games a week.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you're
no. When I was playing for the Long Island Tigers going into college, we had, and I was working full time, by the way, but we had 7 to 9 games a week. So we were playing Monday to Friday every night. All the guys would get off of work, and we had doubleheader Saturday, doubleheader Sundays. I didn't know. Training back then, it's like going and work hard. So we're working out at all odd hours, sometimes 11 p.m. You're telling me about crazy stuff. Looking back on it now, I kind of embrace it. I'm actually happy I did it because I think that was a gear that it kind of embraced. But did it maybe hurt me? Maybe.
I was going to say to you both, though, do you think that having those initial challenges like earlier on in school helped give you that mindset where like you ingrained hard work and self-accountability maybe earlier than other people did? If stuff is hard from you from day one, you have to kind of realize like, A, no one's going to do this for you, and B, you got to start working now, or because, let's say you started behind one step, whatever that means to an individual. So then like the way you're recounting that schedule to other people is probably mind-blowing. But to you at the time, at that age, it's just like, this is what I want to do, so I do it.
Well, I saw you training today.
Yeah, but there's no...
Obviously not. You obviously have a gear in there.
I get that. What I'm saying is, for you, it was just like, no, this is how things are done. 100%. Like, this is normal. Yeah. Whereas others might be like, oh my God, that's crazy. But do you think almost those challenges set you up to have that? Like, you didn't know any other way from the start. So you kind of hit the ground running earlier almost.
That's why earlier I said it was probably one of the biggest blessings. So when I had to go through that, looking back on it now, if someone said, you know what, we have a time machine, we're going to go back and change it, I'd be like, don't fuck with that, please. Because that has been my whole, I think that if you take that away from me, that forces me to go from this way to completely this way. Yeah. Who knows what I'm working at that point? Maybe I'm working some boring finance job where, I hate my life and I have no idea. But that to me, people ask me the turning point in my life. That's where my life started. That's what I can remember. That's as early as I can remember. I can't remember anything before that.
Yeah, going back earlier, I can't really remember, you know what I'm saying? Because it is so long ago. And you're so young and you don't know any different. Because that's all I knew was special ed. And the other people, there was no real assimilation, that it's just alone and whatever it was. But when I was able to start training, then it didn't really matter. Because it gave me purpose. Then that purpose carried over into wrestling, football, in a big way. And then powerlifting came in, and that was, your baseball was my powerlifting. Yeah. Then it just becomes that whole thing. But I don't know how to answer the question because if I could project any other way, the work ethic still would have been installed because that was through my parents. Yeah. Just through how.
Good point.
I mean, my parents owned an appliance store, so I was cleaning appliances before I could even remember.
Yeah, but maybe you're working for them at that. That's what I meant. I didn't mean the work ethic was not going to be there. I feel like that's something you're almost kind of born with and you learn as well. But maybe you're doing something. Maybe you're installing dishwashers and you have a successful business and you're business savvy, obviously. And like that's in there, that's right. But maybe that's the route that you go. That's pretty different in my book.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't change it because you can't, but is it a benefit? I don't know from the education standpoint, because most of the work ethic came from coaches or parents or the other people I trained with. Sure. And ultimately it still comes from you because you got to be able to push hard. And then realize that pushing hard actually benefits, where that was the fun part, is watching other people push hard that would quit. That gave me that gratification. Like, all right, fucker. Yeah. You get all A's and B's, but you can't fucking run 40/40s. Get out of here. So it kind of gave that one up with that.
I love it. I think for both of you, though, there's a key note there where you both had role models where hard work was very much not idolized, but shown as like, this is how you do things.
Yeah, it was back then it was this blue collar mentality though, right? Like I think things have changed today. I have 2 kids. My daughter's turning 18 in 2 months, and my son will be 17 in November. She's going to college. It scares me a little bit, right? Because I could see how society is softening up. People are going to get pissed when I say that, but when my grandfather was a kid and he was 12 years old, he was working with his father at the fruit stand at 3 a.m, before elementary school or middle school, and going to school and literally sleeping on the desk, and the teacher would like let him sleep because she knew he was working before and he was working after work. He wasn't playing sports. He wasn't going to camp. His money was contributing to the family. Think about what that does for a human being. Think about that gear. Like when up until my grandfather, huge influence on me, to the day he died, you put a plate of food in front of him and he'd be like eating like the beast out of Beauty and the Beast. I remember looking at him once being like, why do you eat so fast? Like, slow down, chew your food. This is when I was like really getting into this stuff. He's like, Don, when I was growing up, I had 2 brothers. We were so poor. There were only seconds for whoever can finish first. Yeah. So the 2 brothers, it would be a race to can eat first, so whoever finished first would get that extra potato or whatever it was. So I'm like, shit, you grow up your whole life going through that. That's different, man. Kids now, video games, soft, work. You know, how about everyone earns a trophy? Which pisses me off. It's like, I think it's the worst mistake. I think schools are doing this now, and I think they're making the worst mistake for these kids. It's like this level of, you want that trophy. I told my son, work harder. And one time he was playing hockey, and he saw a couple of kids win a trophy, and he goes, where's mine? I go, work. You went to practice. You didn't put extra time in it. You don't love the game. Like I told him, I said, you get the trophy if you deserve it. Never brought it up to me again.
This is quite a personal question, so maybe Please. I have to apologize.
No,
so then do you see it, if you see that society is softening and whatever, and I think many people would agree with you on that, do you think that makes it even more important perhaps for you then as a parent, that you have to take on that mantle yourself and show, like, be that good role model, in terms of work ethic and discipline and all of that? Do you think that's falling even more so on the parents now because we can't depend on like external sources to manifest that?
Yeah, and I think even some of the parents are getting soft too, which is the discipline.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a rant right there. Society's not softening. Parents suck.
Thank you.
Fair.
You said that.
Because it's not up to the fucking teachers and coaches to raise a kid. You know, it's up to parents to raise the kids. So if they're going to bitch about the participation trophies, which a lot of my generation do, then I kind of step back and say, then why in the fuck are you giving them out?
If the parents were hard, if the parents continue to be hard but fair, the kids, in my opinion, wouldn't be softening as much.
Yeah, and hard changes because it's based upon expectations. You know, just have more higher expectations, for that. But everybody wants to put the blame in all these other places. Meanwhile, their own house is in fucking disarray. It's like, shut the fuck up, right? Because I can look at this 2 different ways. We can look at it, macro, this is a problem, or micro. What an opportunity for the kids that do fucking work and that want to exceed, because their competition is way less.
Do you know how impressive that's going to be? Fast forward 5-10 years when my son is, 27, 24, whatever he'll be 27 in 10 years. He's working a job. He shows up early. He stays late. He's respectful, and he shows passion about his work. Do you know how far that's going to get him?
Huge.
I was around a kid the other day that I can't give too much information because he's going to feel bad I'm saying this, but got a new job, and he turns to me and he's excited about the new position. He says he's talking to his bosses, and his bosses says, we hired you. This is what he's saying to me. They hired someone to help me with this area that I have to run. And I was like, and? He goes, and I said, all right, no problem. If you want to get someone to help me do my job, I'm fine with it. And he laughed, and I was just like, just dropped my head. I'm like, come on, man. I hope you didn't say that, right? And whether he did or he didn't, it's the mentality. I was on a podcast a while ago, and they asked me kind of a bullshit question, which I know there's no bullshit questions, but it was. They says, well, no, let's be clear. This is a bullshit question. They said, one word to describe the relationship with your children. And I'm like, I know what you want me to say. You want me to say love, love. And they were like kind of smiling at me. I said, how about this one? Accountability.
There you go.
Yeah. Accountability.
That is love.
That is love. Accountability.
Right. Because without that,
accountability. Turn to my son saying, no, buddy. Like, no, you're not. He's in 10th grade. Like, he wants to go on a boat with a buddy this weekend and these 2 girls. And listen, I know he's starting to have some fun and he's doing his thing. I'm not ready. Sorry, man. Like, I'm letting you go to the city now with some friends. I'm particular about the group he goes in with because he goes with these 3 guys. I don't like these 3 guys. Shit's going to happen. What about this one? What about that? Yeah, I'm going with them. Great. Okay. Go. I'll throw you a bone. I'm ready for him to go on a power boat when I'm out of town.
Yeah.
And we're on boats all the time. Sorry, you're in 10th grade. Like I'm not going to just say yes to everything. I think that's a problem. Parents get tired. They're working. They have responsibility. The kids come home from school. They mouth off. There's no accountability. The parent's exhausted. They don't want to sit there and they don't want to parent.
Yeah.
And then they create a monster. That's my thought process.
But I was asked an interesting question today. This kind of feeds in, so I'll be keen to know your viewpoints on it. Someone asked me, they were coaching like youth athletes. And they were like, if you could be put in charge of a youth athlete and you could give them like one superpower to make them stand out now, maybe not just on the field, but in school, etc., what would it be? And I said, focus or concentration. Because I just think that now is something that, is being lost at like an alarming rate. And what would your answer to that question be? I'm curious.
Are you feeling like you're not the man you're supposed to be? Low confidence, negative thoughts polluting your brain. That's me. I get it. I've been dealing with messed up hormones most of my life. A couple of years I hooked up with Merrick Health, and it was one of the best things that I ever did. They're a health optimization platform that does advanced lab works and goes deeper than probably what you've ever seen before. What you'll get with Merrick Health is they have guided optimization and the self-service diagnosis. I personally have been using the guided optimization for the whole time I've been with him. Dry is my health coach. He does an amazing job. The second route that they have is the self-service diagnostics. This is just a DIY with your own health journey. You just head over to Merrick Health, pick the panel, and they'll send you the report. You just kind of go from there. Either way, I highly recommend them, and you can get 10% off right now. Just head over to merrickhealth.com and use the code TableTalk at checkout.
At this stage right now, and I like your answer. I do like your answer. At this stage right now, I would probably say like passion for what you're doing, like having a real love for it. Because right now I question a lot of the kids playing all these travel sports. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like I played travel sports, but I can't get over the commitment that parents are agreeing on with their kids. And yes, the occasional kid is going to make the big leagues or whatever, and great move. But most of them that I see are getting burnt out. And I just at this age right now, I'm like, have fun, love it, enjoy what you do. Like when you were like in your powerlifting like era, I'm sure you were going to bed the night before thinking about those lifts. And I'm sure your heart was racing a bit. And there was you didn't do that because anyone was holding a gun to your head. You did that because you loved it. But that's why you were great at it. So that's my opinion. Yeah. Focus is a great answer. But if I'm looking at kids right now and my son, I'm like, listen, I just want you to love it. Like if you have something that you love and you're passionate about, you could show up and you can work hard. Like I'm super happy about that. I played Division I baseball. I remember I started as a sophomore. And I hit 3 or 4 for my career. And I had this one guy on my team. His name was Rich, phenomenal player, probably one of the better hitters on the team. He was my second baseman. And I'm the guy who liked to work, and Rich didn't. And I turned to Rich one day and I'm like, Rich, Jesus, damn, man. Like he was hitting like 420 at some point and just showing up to games like baggy pants, laughing, chewing gum, never hitting extra in the cage, just doing kind of the bare minimum. And I said, Rich, if you worked half as hard as I did, like you'd probably get drafted. And he goes, Don, if I worked half as hard as you did, I would hate this game. Wow. And it taught me something. I'm like, wow, not everyone's built like me. You got to do what you love. Like you loved going to bed at night or maybe 2 days before thinking of that lift or maybe missing a number. And you're thinking of, tell me you weren't thinking, you miss a number, tell me you're not thinking about that, right? Crazy to the point where people wouldn't even understand it. Rich was the type of person that just ran better when he loved the game and he treated it as a game. And some people need to do that.
I think with youth athletes, to answer what you said, is with the youth I've been around, right? So we're not talking a huge number of kids, is we can talk to them about, what do you want to do? What's your vision? What's your passion? And they don't know. They honestly, they don't know. They just blank out, where I think they need to spend time thinking about what they don't want, right? And if they focus and think more about what they don't want, that will start to expose what they do, right? Because it's very hard for them to conceptualize what they want, right? They're young and all this other stuff, and they're being bombarded with all this other stuff. But it's pretty easy to start with, I don't want to die. I don't want to go to prison. Then you just start scaling up from there. I'm playing this sport. I don't want to suck. Cool. How do you not suck? practice more. So it's kind of meeting them where they're at, because I'll see that on a lot of podcasts where people will talk about the lack of aim and vision that kids have. Then I'll listen to these fucked up, stupid, candid answers. Like, take 5 minutes and just determine what you want. Motherfucker, they've been trying to figure it out for 2 years and they don't know.
Yeah, but don't you see, everyone's trying to package something now, even today, with your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan, your morning routines. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, do you not have children? Like, you think I'm going to wake up in the morning and like shove an incense in my ass and light it on fire and start like meditating for 20 minutes as my kids at 12 years old are like, where the fuck are my clothes? And I'm like, come on, like my morning routine changes. I'm a very routine-based person, but if you think I wake up every morning and do the exact same thing over and over and over, it's insane. But this is what we're teaching in society. Everyone wants to package something where if you went back to me in 1999, when I became a trainer, I was a personal trainer in 1999, and you turned around and you told me at 21, 22 years old back then, I'd be doing what I'm doing now, 90% of the stuff didn't exist. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're going to be going to a podcast in Ohio. What? You're going to be selling programs in 80 countries. I'm traveling that much? No, you're not really traveling. You're going to be getting that through paid marketing. What's paid marketing?
Yeah,
you're going to start recruiting this through Zooms and the web. The web, like that thing you plug in with the Ethernet cable that makes that annoying dial tone. What are you talking about? Mm-hmm. So I'm a big passion and purpose person. Follow what you're passionate about, follow what you love, and figure it out. Because there's a lot of people out there that have created things that, never existed.
Mm-hmm.
Be one of those people.
Sure. Well, you made, since you mentioned passion, you made a post the other day, and I can't remember the number, but I think it was something like, if someone put $1 billion in your bank account, right, you'd still be turning up to work every day, which I think is a really cool thing to see. Now, with you kind of being in the upper echelons of the coaching world, whatever you want to call it, do you find that type of passion is common throughout? Like, is that something that you don't find coaches at that level with? Because you're talking about the importance of it there. So I'm wondering at the highest level, is that what you see?
I'll be honest, would I be saying that right now if I was coaching 40 to 50 1-hour sessions a week? Probably not. Mm-hmm. Like, I could say that now because I've, created this path for myself over the last 26 years.
But you had to do that to get there.
100%. Mm-hmm. I had to clean up weights. I calculated one day I probably trained about 40,000 1-hour sessions in my life, 40 to 60 a week. Doing that for 25 years. I mean, do the math on average. You have but yeah, I never really trained less than 40 1-hour sessions a week. And, now, fortunately, I'm not. The whole celebrity trainer thing, to be honest, in the beginning became really annoying for me because what people don't know, I started as a trainer, strength coach. I opened a golf performance facility in New York City. Like, I worked with, Craig Rose was one of the guys. He was one of my mentors. My brother was a professional golfer. I played baseball, worked with a lot of rotational athletes, and we went out to Titleist Performance Institute in Oceanside, and we were like, oh, this is phenomenal. Let's create this in New York City. So I went and I raised $5 million when I was pretty young, and I built this club in New York City, this 15,000 square foot facility with indoor simulators, a bar. We did corporate entertaining, Goldman Sachs, Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns. Half these places aren't around now. And, so I was working with athletes. We were doing kinematic sequencing. I've taken over probably 200 courses in my life. Like, I'm obsessed with nutrition and training, and even programming is so much fun because you can just get creative. The reason why the people call me a celebrity coach is because celebrities came to me because I knew the performance physique world. That was it. I don't want to be a celebrity trainer. I don't like being called a celebrity trainer. I think it devalued me in the past. Now I embrace it. Now I understand it was just part of marketing. Mm-hmm. But, Hugh Jackman comes to you and he's like, hey man, like, you're like my size and you're moving like 130s on the dumbbells, like, and you just shot a cover of a magazine. Like, I want to start training with you. Like, okay, that's going to open some doors, right? So that's where that really started for me. And then what really catapulted my career was the fact that I had this kind of this protective behavior when it came down to the client, right? People would come in, The Rock would come in, train at our facility, and no one would even look at him. And one day he turns around and goes to one of my coaches, like, kid, let's take a picture. The young trainer's name was TJ, Tiago. We called him TJ. TJ's like, no, walked off because I wouldn't allow it. He's like, kid, come take a picture of it. Tiago's calling me up later on, like, The Rock made me take a picture of them. I'm like, dude, calm down. It's fine. I don't want people seeing this free for all of phones going on at my club.
Yeah.
Because then it's gonna allow them to now get nervous about, being in there. And that's why, I mean, my spot in the city, I mean, it housed more celebrities, and then they ended up coming to me. So it was not something that I seeked out. It's just something that kind of fell on my lap from our behavior.
So it provided a place where they could go train and just train.
Safe place.
Yeah.
A safe place. And it was like all about the client. So even Hugh, when I started with him, and I haven't trained Hugh in 18 years, but led to my biggest guy, Ryan Reynolds, who's like a brother to me now. And I remember Hugh coming to me and being like, hey, listen, GQ wants to do something on my training. I'm like, no. Just said no. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, Hugh, you're here to train. Stupid decision on my part, by the way. Like I get it. But back then I was looking back on it now, like that opened the door for everything. Cause he was like, this guy's either he's idiot nuts or he's the smartest person I've ever met. Cause then out of nowhere, every week it was like, hey, Don, hey, who's this? Calvin Klein. Hey, Calvin, nice to meet you. Hey, Don, who's this? Sandra Bull. Hey, Sandy. Hey, Don, Scarlett Johansson. Hey, Scarlett, how are you? Come on in. And it just became, I mean, every single week, to the point where it looked like this big celebrity hangout. But, you start creating that, a protective place, it's not repeatable. That was the problem, is that I built this facility that was insane, but you couldn't go rolling that out in. You could, but it wasn't going to be the same thing. And that's a completely other conversation.
But the thing that made it such a success was that you didn't want to make it flashy and exploit
100%.
The resource. If we say the resource is the celebrity, right?
100%.
You didn't want to exploit that for your own self-worth. You're like, what keeps this, regardless of who the client is, what keeps this resource valuable to the client? The privacy, whatever you want to call it. And you just doubled down on that and then got rewarded way back.
And then ironically, right. And then ironically, what ends up happening is they end up coming to me later on, like, hey, let's do a pic. Because they don't want to be the one showing their pictures online. Sure. So now they're like, hey, I got this movie coming up. Throw that up. Okay, you sure? Great. Okay, and then that's when kind of social media was born for me. But it's still, there's a fine line of like, are you asking or are they asking you? And you want to be careful.
So to dial it back, how did you get into the personal training space in the first place? And what did you study in college?
Business. Because I was obsessed with business. I knew I was going to open a business. I did not know I wanted to open a gym. I did not know I wanted to be a personal trainer. I did not know personal trainers really existed until we're talking 1999 now. Really, it was my mom. I was having a conversation with her one day and she's like, have you given some thought to what you're going to do? And I'm like, maybe FBI, cop, special forces, something like that. I need to be physical. She's like, what about these trainers? I'm hearing about these trainers. I'm like, oh, they don't make money. And I said that to her and she went, no, she's like, don't worry about money. She's like, you've been successful at everything you've done. I have a feeling you're going to find your way. And right there, it was like this bag was just lifted off my back. I literally threw a suit on the next day. I had my resume put together. I jumped out of this little Chevy Tahoe. I drove into the city with 2 pairs of car keys. I'll tell you in a second. I'd pull in front of any gym I can find. I'd leave the car running. I'd put a sign on the windshield, lock my keys in the car, be right back. So I didn't have to pay for parking. I'd run inside with the other pair of keys. I'd come out, unclick it, walk in, because then it wasn't like you can lock your keys in the car back then. Now it's like they don't have that feature where you can't. Back then you could. And I went to Crunch. I went to New York Sport Club. I went to Sport Club LA on Central Park West. I went to a place called Equinox. I went to La Palestra. I mean, honestly, one day I was just walking in and I got hired by every club for the exception of Sport Club LA. It's just because they were a fucking disaster with their membership and they fired their membership. I called back. They're like, our membership guy was fired. I was like, you guys are out. I worked at Equinox because I felt like at the time the vibe was really cool. You went in there, it was owned by the Errico family, Italian family, brothers, sisters. All the coaches in there was like 45 coaches in there, put together. Published. Some were working on PhDs. Met an ex-NFL guy coming in, becoming a coach. It was wild. It was fun, and I was learning a lot. But at the 6th month, a private equity company came in, and a woman by the name of Wendy comes in. I'm not going to give her last name. I do know it though. And she looks at every one of us, 45 trainers, and she just, first thing out of her mouth, she walks in, she just goes, "You're all expendable." And I was like, holy shit. And everyone's like, people are like, probably like another big turning point in my life, because I went from seeing this mom and pop organization go immediately to corporate. So I experienced 6 months into 6 months of one and 6 months in the other. Invaluable. Probably one of the best messages that's ever been delivered to me in the worst way, right? Why was it the best message? Because she was 100% right.
Mm-hmm.
I can be replaced tomorrow by anyone I've ever worked with. I don't care how good I think I am. Tomorrow I am out. When I turn around and I call my or I decide to retire, I am replaced. I can be replaced. Yes, I can. And I think walking around with that attitude has really given me an edge. But what a terrible delivery, by the way.
Yeah.
Thinking back, she was fired. She ended up being fired 6 months later, rightfully so. But I think sometimes we're very quick to point out someone and say they're shit, they suck, right? Like I've been to a lot of seminars. I had some coaches working for me who came in, oh, we're not going to listen to this guy. I go, why? Hey, this is garbage. Really? He's garbage? He's got 800 people in the room. So you know what we're going to do right now? We're all going to go listen to him.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go in and sit. And we'd sit, we'd listen to the guy, rah, rah, rah. And after, I'm like, why does he have 800 people in the room? And we would talk about it. You got to take the good with the bad. There's never been a course I've taken where I look back on and say that's a complete waste of time. There's always been some type of a grain or nugget or something or one person there that taught me something. And I think now we're very quick to say, you know, this is shit.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, I think with events and, you know, mentors and everything, like someone can always, everyone has something they can teach you, right? It might just be, like you said, that one grain that you take away amongst the 100 other things. But like when you take away that singular grain from one meeting or one seminar, and then you multiply that over 20 years, that's where you end up with the knowledge base that everyone's like, how did you get that? It's like one tiny little factoid at a time is how I got that, you know?
Yeah, it's a whole journey. That's why I said when I walked in here, I kind of walked in, I stopped and I look around, and then I started seeing, like, I don't know the story behind every piece of equipment, but you can see that, you know, this equipment it's been used.
Yeah.
This equipment's been here. And I turned to you and I said, like, there's a story behind everything here. Like there's someone was pushing that prowler, or something happened one day at one point, or there was a moment where around that dumbbell rack, you guys were doing accessory work or whatever it was. And the energy just got so crazy. There was a moment that you'll never forget. Or you can go to every station in here and there's some sort of a story. And that's when you walk in here. Anyone else walks in here, they're not going to really understand it. But I walked in here and I was like, oh man, that kind of gives you the chills a little bit.
That's awesome.
So you go from Equinox to the golf?
No, I go from Equinox to working for about 4 to 5 years in New York City. One-on-one, I started my own training business. I was doing pretty well at the time. I mean, 22-year-old kid, you know, making $200,000 a year, you know, going home to home, really creating like a market for myself. So I got hooked up with the head of construction for a company called Millennium Partners, and they built a Ritz-Carlton downtown. So I positioned myself as the in-house trainer there that trained a lot of the residents and didn't have to pay a cut to the gym. So I would drive my car down, give the doorman $20, I'd watch it in front, I'd go inside, bang out 4 or 5, and I'd leave. So I would do that 3 mornings a week, and then in the evenings I would go to a one-on-one facility, or I'd hop around the home. So I kind of strategically placed everything where, you know, 5-6 days a week I was working like a dog, and every 3-4 weeks I'd turn to a friend and be like, where are we going this weekend? We go to like Miami, Vegas. We were single. We were just having a blast. And training was like training and work. And then I'd go party maybe every 3 weeks.
So all the marketing then was referral based.
100%.
Had to be.
Oh yeah, there was no like, when I opened my first club, I remember taking out an ad in Golf Digest and paying like $25,000 for that ad. I actually brought in some business, but that's like how long ago we're talking about right now. Like Golf Digest, like you're going to pay money for Golf Digest. And then I think living through that transition was really interesting, because I started seeing a lot of the marketing companies really struggling. You had these old school marketing companies that were successful, and they're looking at me going, like, friends of mine, like, we don't know how to operate anymore. Even a buddy of mine who started a company called Safety First, he started the Baby on Board sign. He tried starting a company later on, and he looked at me and he's like, I'm done. It's like, you know, he ended up making so much money off COVID masks anyway that, because I was in contract with him for a specific deal and we were supposed to be working on it. And I'm like, we got to be working on this. He's like, Don, I'm making so much fucking money doing what I'm doing now. Just keep it. He just gave me all this money. He's like, I have no time to worry about this. It was like the Wild West. So, yeah.
And then you have your own place until the lease ran out.
Yeah, so we went 2005. I started Drive 495, 15,000 square foot spot. I then did a raise and I opened a digital media company called Driven. I partnered with Dwayne Wade, Adrian Peterson, and everybody else. I opened like an MTV Cribs of Apps. So I raised like $1.5 million for that. Crushed it out of the gate. And then I've never seen an epic implosion in a company. Almost to the point, and I hope my investors don't hear this, but almost to the point where it was like, it was such an implosion that like, it was almost like, wow, that was a learning curve. Where some of them, I'm sure, is really pissed off, but they're all good now. But went through that, and then I did another raise and opened, when group training started getting big, I wanted to jump into that. Opened that, which was, it's, again, what did I learn from that? Like, stay in your lane. Mm-hmm. You're not a group training guy. You don't believe in group training. You don't take classes. You're not into it. It was less group training. It was more like semi-private, small group semi-private, like 1 to 3, 1 to 4, like running like the same program or running different templates for all 4 people. A lot of people don't know the difference. Like I would say small group would be, I'm coming in and I'm training 3, for those people who don't know, I know you guys know, but I'm coming in with the same template and training 3 people on the same template, or I'm coming in with 3 people and they have 3 different templates and I'm training all 3 of them. Mm-hmm. So I got into that and that was a good experience. Started developing social media, started doing a lot of brand work. That's kind of where my career started taking this hook, because I was working with the sports agencies and because I was working with attorneys and negotiating contracts, because I understood digital media and I understood training really well. I started gaining this perspective on when these health and wellness brands were being built. How do you build the marketing on that? How do you structure these deals? So what's happened now over the last 5 years is so many people are like, I have this brand deal. How do I structure this? From the brands. Mm-hmm. Like I have this brand deal I want to do with this individual. Even I have people calling me up with massive A-listers. Like, we have the opportunity to sign this person. What do you think? NFL quarterback, future Hall of Famer. What do they want? And then I got to know where there'll just be some words or triggers that they give me and I'll be like, squash it. Why? Because they're asking the wrong questions. They're asking how much do we have to post? That's what I learned from Ryan Reynolds. Ryan came in, bought into Aviation Jet. Ryan was on the phone with truck drivers, liquor distributors on a Tuesday night, FaceTiming truck drivers. They're like, not believing he's FaceTiming them. They're like, holy shit, it's really you. He's like, yeah, it's really me. Thank you. We've got this big route coming up. I know it's a holiday. I need you. Is there any way? We got you, boss. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, when he sold that company, he wrote down all the names of those people and he would send them messages like, hey buddy, check your bank account. We just sold. And he thanked every single one of them. So stories like that, when you watch a leader like that, who understands the celebrity as well as anyone. He's like an A++ celebrity, but he understands the business and marketing end as much as anyone. Being able to kind of ride on his coattail for the last 16 years and watch and witness that really gave me a perspective that I think most people don't have.
So for you, looking then from like a brand deal perspective, is the difference with someone like him that he's just genuinely invested in the project as opposed to just like asking what boxes do I need to tick?
Don't give a shit about the celebrity. Tom Brady can come in right now and a company wants to sign a deal with him. We still need to know, is this something that, because the agents, remember, they're going to get their 7 to 10%. The attorneys, they never pay them cash, which they should. The attorneys get 5%. How much do they have to post? What's guaranteed money? What's upside? Is there equity in the brand? Who's part of the team? Brady's a bad example, but let's use Brady. And this is fictional, by the way, anyone listening, but does Brady have his cousin, running the social media? How many cooks are there in the kitchen? What's the process of getting posting out? Are they going to jump on the phone and get into meetings, or do you have to go through 3 different people? Like, they're just like, I always tell brands, are they going to be on the call, or are their agents taking the call? Like, if they're not going to be on the call, find someone else. Like, the celebrity piece can work, but you need them invested as if they're putting their own money. That's why Ryan put his own money in. He put his own money into aviation, Mint Mobile, which became $1 billion company, Wrexham, Wales, your hometown, right?
That's it.
That's why I would never have thought I was going to Wrexham. That last year, I'm flying with him from London to Wrexham, and I'm like, holy shit! This city was literally like, it seemed like it was in poverty.
Oh, it was not that long ago.
A lot long ago. Now you go there. I'm on New York City subway recently, and I see people wearing Wrexham jerseys.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me? Like, think about the influence that this guy has had on that. And now to see, him getting into F1, all these, he's very strategic, but he's involved. And that's the main takeaway. You don't have to be a celebrity. You have to be involved, and you got to be smart.
Yeah. I mean, just on that, I mean, no one will be interested in this because it's soccer, so I apologize in advance. But
soccer or football. I'm trying to say.
I'm trying to speak words people will understand. But
exactly.
There's quite a long history of like foreign investors coming into English football clubs because, it's popular and the revenue associated with them. But there are more that have failed than have succeeded because they get this huge influx of cash, and the idea is just throw money at it, and then at some point they don't invest in the infrastructure and it all balloons out, and they actually end up worse than beforehand because they've got all these overheads and stuff they can't deal with now. So it's interesting the way you describe Ryan there, because you can see that in how he is helping deal with that, because they're building up in a way that's going to be sustainable, so they're not going to be one of these hot air balloons that just comes straight back down. So it's just interesting that even that is kind of an indication of how he probably approaches everything.
Yeah, and he also cares. Like, he really cares about the team. He cares about not just that team, but all the. When I say team, I mean like the kind of the association that he's involved in, and he cares about the people. And I think that goes a long way.
Sure.
So how do you use the lessons that you've learned through that with your own business?
Oh my God, I don't even know where to start. I mean, first off, passion and purpose, and understanding that are you going to make money when you're sleeping? Sure. But if that's the thought process and that's the idea, I think that's what kills most people. I think the thing that I am is I'm very involved. I'm very involved with my team. I'm very involved with my community. I like connecting with people. Like, think about it. I jumped on a plane. I have 2 kids. I jumped on a plane last night. I'm supposed to be in Chicago tomorrow. So I'm like, you know what? Dave gave me a great invite. Been listening to him since the T-Nation days. Backing that up, 100 years for both of us. But, I wanted to come out. I wanted to see this. I wanted to connect with you guys and just, say what's up and jump on a plane and go to Chicago. Like, most people would say, well, that's really inconvenient. Well, is it? It's one day of my life. To do something I love. Like, we love sitting here talking about this stuff. I'm hoping that someone listens to this and that they actually are influenced in a positive way, where they can go out and just maybe make a change or decide to, get into the industry that they really love and feel good about themselves when they wake up every single day. So I think that's probably one of the main takeaways is I love what I do. I've had some really rough moments in business. I mean, I remember, we were talking about the monies we've lost in business or legal or whatever, but I remember at one point, I was burning 100 grand a month for like a year when I couldn't afford it. No one can really afford that. It's a lot of money, but I remember going and raising $1 million through prepaids. So I turned to all my heavy hitters and I said, I got to come up with $1 million. So this one give me 50, 100, and they were prepaids. I call it prepaid. They're training services. They're paying for me in advance. And I worked off that $1 million in 18 months personally.
Yeah, but at that same time, you're not bringing in their revenue.
No, but my trainers are bringing in revenue from other people. So it allowed me to still keep the door up, to still, keep things going with the existing trainers. But now I just said, I'm going to just solely focus on the money that we raised to be able to carry us. I couldn't close the doors. That's what people don't understand. I went PG. I went PG at 27 years old. So all of my assets, all of my brother's assets, we went in and we guaranteed a number that if we closed the door, we would owe $3.5 million. And we didn't have that. So when you're standing on a ledge and the only choice is to jump, there's no like, oh, well, people like, you think about closing the doors? Like, yeah, I owe $1 million. I can close the doors or I'll owe 3.5. What are you going to do? Like, you're going to put your head down and run through the wall. So again, these were lessons. I almost missed 37 consecutive payrolls. And I probably had employee staff of 30. Like, these are big numbers. Like, for someone who's young, I'm in my 20s, early 30s. Like, no one's prepared for that. You get prepared really quickly, but I could tell you right now, the most creative moments in my life were those days I'm literally in my office with my brother going, holy shit, we need 100 by tomorrow. Sweating, shaking, like, how are you going? Like, I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I remember at a certain point, I'm like popping an edible to go to sleep because I'm just so wound up. I'm like, I just can't, I got to sleep. Right. And those moments now I look back on, it reminds me of myself in second grade. Like, don't take that away from me.
So when you're in those moments, specifically, how do you reframe your thought pattern? Because there's a lot of shit going around in your head, right? There's all the bad, right? Which you have to stop so you can focus on how to get the hell out.
You gotta stop the bleeding. You gotta stop the bleeding.
Yeah. So there's all that bad, but the people that I see that get just crushed are the ones that can't get out of that.
Right.
Like they can't stop all the potential negative things that probably wouldn't happen because nothing. And when you look at anything, it's never as bad as you think it's going to be, and it's never as good as you think it's going to be. Yeah. But you play all the scenarios in your head, but all they're playing is that negative, but they can't stop it to actually focus on what a solution would be.
Right.
So how were you able to do that?
I think we made a decision. Our first decision was we needed carry. Because you can't go fix the business. Why was the business broken? Because in 07, 08, when we went through that whole economic crisis, a big portion of my money was coming from these financial institutions. And it was smart of us because we're building this monster business, and we said, we can set up an entertainment area where after hours we can come in and we can host. So now Goldman's coming in and they're paying us $10K a night, or these firms are paying us $10,000 a night. Let's say 2 nights a week, you're making $80K cash a month. For just hosting a party.
So what you grew up with your dad doing?
Yes. So I would come, but on a much smaller scale. Sure. So we would have maybe 20 to 50 people in there. We hire one golf pro, $125 an hour, who worked for us. The liquor, the booze, bring in. We bring my staff who's working the front desk to serve. Easy. Out of nowhere.
Bam.
It was gone. So we lost all of that at an early stage in our business where it was like, holy shit. Now we step back and we said, all right, the first thing we need float. We need runway as if we're starting up. And we figured it was going to be about a year. And then it's like, how do we fix the business? So once we went in and we raised that capital, which I'm not going to say we raised that whole $1 million at once. We were raising it over weeks because you schedule an appointment with someone. They're like, all right, listen, I'm going to Martha's Vineyard. I'll be back in 2 weeks. You're like, fuck. Okay. You kind of put a star next to it, write a date down. I'll follow up with you then. Appreciate it. You sure? Yeah, everything's fine. Yeah, good. But like, we're in there like American Express shut my credit card down for 2 years.
Yeah, I know this is where the podcast stops and the ad starts. And most of you guys just want to skip ahead. But hang on, because this one actually matters to me. You all know who John Meadows was. John and I were very close friends. So I'm proud to partner with Granite, which was his company. The principles and values that he had as a person, he instilled into the company. The Meadows whey protein, it's just simply whey. The way that I use that is right after training because I want it to digest faster. I want it to get into my system faster. The other product is creatine, which is like a no-brainer at this point. Everybody should use creatine. Even if they don't train, everybody should be using creatine just for the neural benefits associated with that. Right now, you can get 10% off with code TABLETALK at granitenutrition.com. If you've ever respected John, this is how we keep his legacy alive.
Con Ed shut my power down. So I'm in a gym. Imagine your power going down here and people are like,
where's the power?
Where's the power? And like, I'm like walking out of the office. My brother's like, fuck. I'm like, I'll handle this. I walk out. I'm like, fuck. They're like, what happened? Like, fucking Verizon, those assholes fucking busted a pipe. We'll have it back on. And like, it was like that. And I'm going back in the room and I'm like, holy shit. Like, we got to borrow from Peter to pay Paul right now. And that was a long run, man. But that was it. I think.
How long after that did Sandy hit? Because that had
12?
to be another.
Oh, it was another shit show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was another shit show. But you know, by then it's like
you're used to.
No, but seriously, it's just like when the first fight you ever get into, you know, when you're in 10, 12, 15 of them, you start, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like, I don't want to use that as an analogy, but for people,
no, I get it.
You totally get it. And I'm not saying that I'm proud of it, but I kind of am, because I made it through. But in the moment, I was like, oh my God, life's over. I'm going to die. But now looking back on it, I'm like, dude, you're going to be okay. We're all going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the worst case scenario is you die, and that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
You're not going to die. What's going to happen is they shut you down. They sue the balls off of you. You spend a couple years in litigation. They probably reduce the amount of money. You have to pay something off, and you move on. Like, I found out that's what it is, and you'll get through it. And people have gotten through way worse. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you disseminate it down to the worst case scenario, I'm sure you have family or friends you could sleep with, so you're not going to be homeless. Okay. You know, you'll be able to have some. So the worst case isn't actually what most people. Well, actually, to be honest, I had to sell my home. And I forgot that one too. I bought my home in New York City for $1.3 million. It's a 1,200 square foot apartment. And we sold it off, and it was a mortgage at the time. So I don't remember what the mortgage was, but we took the money that we made off of it, and I stopped. That was one of the ways I pulled out of it, was I stopped drawing from the business. And we lived off of that for two and a half years. Mm-hmm. And the best part about it, my wife, who's my COO now, is like the smartest human being I've ever met. Like, got into Columbia, didn't go because she couldn't afford it. She's like, I don't give a fuck. It's Ivy League. I could care less. Like, she's just one of those, scored 1,600 on SATs. She just looks at me and she just goes, the day we sold our place, most wives are going to be fucking in shambles. She looked at me and she's like, come on, we got this. That's awesome. Fucking awesome. She's a G. So like, I turn around, I'm like, all right. And she's like, come on, let's rebuild this. You got this. And then that's when we did it. And my level of success, I think, really catapulted when I partnered with her, because she allowed me now to focus on what I need to focus on. And she's like, I got this part. I like, she likes sitting in front of a computer for 18 hours a day and just being like she's learned to code. She's like, it's crazy. So she, now from that standpoint, she's like, you go do this, and by next week, I'm going to have this done, this done, this done, this done. She's managing our team at home. So it's really been a breath of fresh air.
I think there's two really cool lessons there. First off, the passion you keep mentioning is so important, because what else are you going to put up with that much shit for? Like, all that stress, all the chaos, you know what I mean? If you're not super passionate about what you do, you're never going to get through like 20% of that, right? You're going to be like, screw this, I'll go do something else. And then your career, your business, etc., taking off when you had your wife who complements your skill set and is good at the things that you're not good at, so you can actually do the things you want. And I think, you know, since we're talking business, do you find that's a place where a lot of people go wrong, where they are too clung on to, they have to do everything themselves, even all the stuff they're not good at, whereas they really need to outsource something so that they can invest more time to the things that actually makes them marketable and valuable, or whatever it is it might be? It's a great question. I think we see it a lot in the training world. Mm-hmm. Small gym owners who open gyms, and they're like, oh, who's doing all the training? I am. No one's going to do it the way I am. I'm like, dude, get over yourself, man. Like, get over yourself. Seriously? Like, train the coach. Are they going to be you? No. Are they good enough? Are they going to be good enough if you hire the right person? Yes. And I saw that. You don't need 15 of you. It'll be a disaster. It's going to be an absolute mess. Get people in there that are loyal, that are passionate, that want to learn, that want to be inclusive in the sense of like, hey, guess what? You're hurt right now and I'm not a PT. Charlie, can you come over here? That's a team. That's what a team does. But a lot of these coaches, they shoot themselves in the foot because of, I honestly think, one, it's a lack of education, and it's also ego. It's the fact that they just think that they're the only ones that can do it, and that's wrong. I think your situation is a little bit different, because you really didn't have the option of, screw this, I'm going to do something else, because that was going to cost 5 times more than staying with what you were doing and just grinding through. Yeah. So it's just kind of like a fuck it, we got to figure this out, because if we don't figure it out, then we're in even more trouble. Yeah. It's like, you weren't in a position where you can say, fuck it, I'm just going to go be a contractor. And true. You know, but I also what I was fearful of is, if it didn't work out, this is what I felt like I was meant to do. So that was a time when like success was gym. 1999, like there was no, I want to become a multi-millionaire on digital media and brands. And no, it was gym. And so I was so wired that was the be all end all. Opening 10 clubs was like what I had to do. It was what I was going to do. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be my life's dream. If this doesn't work out, it's going to shit the bed. When I parted ways from my club, and it was me who parted, it was solely not because the lease didn't work out.
The landlord was an asshole, total asshole, but it was because I had another route that was going to be more fulfilling and more lucrative. And I was excited. We talk about gyms. Like when you're in the gym business, anybody I speak to who's been in the gym business for a while, I'm like, how long you been in? 15 years. And we just look at each other and we just go,
yeah.
And you have this bond with them because it's like you went into it with an expectation. You love it. You're here, but it's a lot different than what you expected.
It's way different. Yeah. Especially after you have kids.
Oh yeah.
Because
how many do you have?
2.
How old are they?
23 and 22. Actually, 24 is birthday today.
None right now, unless you count Dashins. Yeah, got 2 of those.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that was kind of my biggest wake up calls when we had the first one. It's like, now if I'm out of the house, from 5:30 in the morning until 9, when am I going to see my kid?
Yeah.
And that's when people talk about training hours, as we spoke earlier. 40 training hours is like 60 hours in the gym, and there's travel if you're going to people's houses. 40 billable hours is not what people think it is. No. It's a hell of a lot more than year after year after year. Even though you love it, it's like, well, there's a lot of cost that you don't think about when you get into it, when you get older, that you may not be willing to pay anymore.
I'm also seeing a lot of coaches, that number's dropping a lot now. Have you noticed that? Like that, the 40, which seemed like if you were doing 40 a week, you were like,
you bust your ass.
You bust your ass. Yeah. Now everyone I'm talking to, like, how many are you doing a week? They're like 20, 25. I'm like, oh, nice. You enjoying yourself?
Yeah.
You're like, that's a deload week,
you get
right?
You get some beach time. Like, what do you do? Are you reading a little bit? Are you enjoying life? I don't mean to make fun of them, but I'm like, come on, man, you want to be successful. Put your fucking chin to the grindstone, man. Go.
Especially if you're doing that, because there's a life cycle to it.
Yep.
Where I don't know, but maybe there are. You might know some. Some people may still be doing it and have been doing it for 40 years. I personally don't know anybody that's still on the floor those hours for 4 decades.
I don't know. I'm sure there are some people. I mean, God, it's going to weather them. I mean, it's hard. Emotionally, I think it's harder than most people think. When you have to come in, if you're a good coach, I always say, whether you're doing 8 in a day, 10 in a day, or 3 in the day, you got to come in here with this consistency of energy, and you can't be sitting there, oh, I'm tired. They don't want to hear that shit. So being able to come in here with that gear, it was very difficult also, I think, in the situation I was in, because like I said, I gave the example of Con Ed and Amex. Like when you get off a call like that, which was frequent, and suddenly they're like, Jake Gyllenhaal's waiting for you. You're like, oh, okay.
You got to turn it around.
Yeah. It's like suddenly, and it's like, it's almost like, I think the way to relate it to most people is if most people had a really terrible breakup with someone and it's early on, and you're like, you need that, like getting off the phone with them and having to go out and like work in real life is probably the best. I've never given that example, and it just popped into my head right now for the first time, I swear to God. But that's immediately what just came back, because I've seen some people recently, I think, go through some bad breakups and they're into shambles. And I'm like, imagine going through your breakup and having to walk on the floor and be like, how you doing?
Oh,
how are you?
Yeah.
Today's a great day to be.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's push.
You have to compartmentalize. Even in a smaller scale, from one client to the next, they're 2 entirely different people. So you got to kind of be a chameleon, and be able to be the up guy, and then like the moderate guy.
Yep.
And then back to the
what do they want?
Yeah.
I was never a yeller. I'm not a guy. But like some people are like, oh, come on. Like even when I'm lifting, like my best training partner I ever had is this black dude who's 62 years old, and his name's Tone. He's been shot like 11 times, stabbed twice, and does at 62. I saw him doing pull-ups the other day with like 445s around his waist. He's like one of those, right? He's a total freak, but we won't even talk. He's been my training partner for 20 years. We just go, we don't even know, like we're telepathic now. Yeah. We just kind of look at each other and we know if it's 10s or 5s or nickels we're putting on our quarters. We just look at each other and we go grab the weight. Like that's just be quiet. Just looking in his eyes for me is like someone stabbing me with something. I'm like, it's just, and you get what I'm saying, but I'm not a yeller. I can't do it.
Now with the celebrities, if we get into that.
Yeah, and Ben?
Well, it's a little, here's what's interesting to me about this is they have a timetable. Right. So they have a longer macro cycle, because of whenever the film's going to be.
Or much shorter.
Or shorter.
Usually it's shorter. I'm just
shorter.
I'm giving you the...
But I would expect that their consistency is going to be better because it's part of the job. Right. So with the normal population that you would be working with, consistency needs to probably be super reinforced.
I think the answer to that is it depends on who's coming in, because I've had people come in where I'm saying to them, well, what do we need to do? And they're like, nothing really. I just need to train to be strong and resilient. So I think then it's understanding their mentality. And that's why I said, like, do I screen people? Of course I do, but I have different ways of screening. There's like your medical screen, there's your movement screen, if that's what you believe in. I don't think you need it. I think you can run someone through a warm-up movement screen and really be able to tell whether they're, moving right or whether there's any red flags, and understanding how they tick. And who actually taught me that was Emily Blunt. Because Emily came in, she had abs and she's in incredible shape, and we'd be getting her ready for a movie. And, Emily's a moderation type person, right? Like she would, maybe a drink once in a while, nothing crazy, great, amazing husband, John Krasinski, and great kids. And, she enjoy training. And it's like, well, what do we have to do? What do you have to do with your physique? I just got to come in feeling good. Okay. So what are we doing? So yeah, you create your macro cycle, your block, call it what you want. And, we then commit to that to however much time that we have. I've had people coming to me where it's like, well, I have 2 weeks. And I'm like, to do what? Well, the production company wants me to grow my arms and my shoulders. I'm like, in 2 weeks? Okay, well, what do I do? Well, we're going to stay on the program. And, before you go shoot, you're going to go get a nice tan and, maybe drink a little vodka.
Yeah.
Let's dehydrate. No, you get what you get what I'm saying. So I think some people, like Ryan, who we spoke about earlier, is a robot. And when it's time to turn it on, his diet's in place, his program, he's got everything and it's off. And then there's other people. It really depends on what we're trying to create. I had Liev Schreiber on my podcast the other day. And we were talking about a movie we got him ready for called Chuck, which this boxer, Chuck Wepner, it was what Rocky was based off of. It's what Stallone based him off of. And what I would usually do with people when they come in, I'd be like, well, what are we trying to create? Let me understand before I put, anything together. I need to understand visually what we want to create. Because when I say performance physique, we want them to look a certain way, but I need them to be resilient. Yeah. Right? That's the number one goal. I don't care what they're saying. I don't care what the production companies think. I need them to make sure they're going on set. Energy's good. Movement quality's good. A lot of them are doing their own stunts. Ironically, even with AI now, they like to do stuff that's believable. Deadpool 3 was a mess. I mean, people getting thrown off up staircases, and I could not believe what I actually saw. But I think sitting down with them and almost going to Google and saying, like, do you have visually? Can you show me what we need to get you to? And like Liev brought up this guy Chuck, and I was like, he looks way worse than you. And he's like, yeah. It's like, okay. Right? Dave Harbour coming in for Hellboy. It's like, well, how much do we weigh him in? It's 250 pounds. Well, I'm in a prosthetic suit. What's the prosthetic suit look like? Shows me the prosthetic suit. Go out, screen him. Realize he's got a bad back injury. Charlie looked at him. Training equals rehab in this case. We can train him out of this. Struggled to pick up a 24 kilogram kettlebell. 9 weeks later, he pulls a 90% max off the floor at 400 pounds. Pretty good, right? So this is someone like great positioning, great breath hold, like proud of him, right? Super psyched. He lost 1 pound in that prep, which when he lost that 1 pound, I got a call from the company saying, we're going to pull this. We're going to pull training if he loses more weight. I go, why? He hasn't lost weight. He lost 1 pound. He's not fitting right in his prosthetic suit. Oh, shit. It's got to fit measurement. So that's what people don't understand. This isn't always about getting people to look like Brad Pitt in Fight Club. There really is a lot of thought process that has to go into this if you know what you're doing. And body composition is one thing, but movement quality to me is everything. If you're looking good and you got to get on a horse and you got to ride a horse in Bulgaria like this guy had to do for weeks, and you got a bad back, we got a problem. So I think it's really understanding the individual and understanding where their mindset's at, what their training history is like, what do they like and dislike? Are they just going to be miserable? I fucking hate barbells. You're just sitting there going, oh my God, okay. Like, do I have to force them to do that? Would I like them to put in some barbell lifts? Sure. But like, are we going to be fine with dumbbells? We'll be just fine. What are we training for here? We're not training for the kern, right? We're training for something a bit different. So I can afford a little bit of variability, you know, in that, you know, in that approach.
Sure. Do you think, so what, was that one of the big like misconceptions you think about doing that type of training? So like, you know, quite often we'll speak to coaches who are looking to like go into the athletic field, for example, and they always seem to have this preconception that like, oh, when I get to work with pro athletes or whatever, I'll really be able to show what I'm capable of.
They're not showing shit because they're not listening to them.
Yeah, right.
Let's be very clear. No, but this is my thing. They all have their own coaches. And this is what, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is what sucks about going and working for an organization. You think Pete Alonso's going in, no offense, and listening to like the head strength coach of the Mets? Maybe he is, but most of the time he's not. So that's, I think, the big misconception.
Sure. So like you mentioned like having to deal with the prosthetics too. Like, for example, you know, it's like, there are going to be many hands at play here, not just like, oh, you just get free reign to be like, cool, you get to train, you have to train 6 days a week for an hour, we're going to get you like, and everything else goes out the window. It's like, no, they are on set for like 6 hours a day, they're changing location, you've got, you know, the studio who are like, oh no, well, they need to look this certain way at all times during the shoot. There are all these other, you know, things coming in where you're like, okay, I have to please not just this actor or actress, I have to please all these people.
100%. The biggest misconception I had with all this, because I've trained with athletes almost as much as I've trained with actors, is people think training athletes is more difficult and more challenging. It's not even fucking close. It's not even close. The athlete is an athlete. They've been playing their sport. They know their schedule. Now I'm putting aside injury. I saw Ryan Reynolds break his neck and back on set. These guys get injured too. It's going to happen. But these athletes, we know their schedule in advance. We know their time zone changes in advance. They have an off season. These actors now, when I spent a week with Ryan in London, he had pneumonia. And I'm there training him, and it's like, dude, what are we doing? He's like, I need to do this. So we train at 4:35 in the morning. When I wanted him to take off, he took off one day I was there, but he's like, I need to do this for this. You know me, we got this. Right? I'm still, again, wouldn't have been my decision, let him rest. Then he's going on set. It's cold, it's rainy, 7 a.m. till dark. Then he's getting home and he's on Zoom calls for like 6 months. So he's stressed out, he's away from his family. Set times are always changing. The weather's always changing. He's alone. And then he gets home and he gets a call that he has to do something else. And the time zone changes are so different. And they have to start training for things that they don't know how to do. He didn't grow up sword fighting. I'm sorry. It's like, think about this. Out of nowhere, you get a role and they're like, oh, you got to ride a horse. You're like, never rode a horse a day in my life, but I'll learn. So now they have to learn. So now they're doing horseback riding for 5 hours a day and they're training for 2 hours a day and then they're shooting and they've got all this stuff where the athlete has, you know, been probably working out most of their life, been running with a football most of their life. Tom Brady knows that if he's playing on Sunday, he gets off Monday, or he's looking at film and he's got a recovery process and he knows when his off season is. Like, there's no off season. And it's really emotional. You're away, you're on set, you get sick. You think where he can turn around to his team and say, oh guys, I got a bad cold, terrible sore throat and I got to take off. If you have COVID, naturally they were doing that. Anything else, you're not taking off. Someone dies in your family and you have to run home for a funeral. And I've seen this. You're back on set 2 days later because they can't afford, because it's millions of dollars for these big productions. These Marvel productions are not an indie film. These Marvel productions are expensive. So when I saw training both, I have a completely different perspective on that most people would look at and say, bullshit, athletes are harder. I know you want it to be, but the actor is an actor. Most of them are non-athletic. Most of them did some full body workouts and did some running to the extent of it, right? So now it's interesting to see how even that's evolving, because early on, Liev said this the other day, played Ray Donovan, he didn't want to train because he felt like that was, a lot of these actors feel like if they're too muscular or too big, that they're not going to be believable. They have to be in a position where they can adapt up or they can adapt down. If they walk around looking like The Rock is going to play one type. Now he does his comedy, he does his action hero stuff, but you know, and he's venturing out a little bit more. But a lot of these people they can't do that. If they're too big and they're too muscular, they're not going to have the ability to be able to move into that role. And the real actors out there want to challenge themselves, no differently than you wanted to challenge yourself in here your entire life. They take on Broadway roles and they take on movies that might challenge their acting ability. This is a role I've never played. This is a character I've never played. This is going to challenge me. This is going to help really hone in my acting ability. This is going to help me evolve. A lot of the real ones, that's what they're looking for. They want the paycheck. But what some of them will do is they'll do the voiceovers and they'll do the Marvel movies, which then allows them to do the indies and the really challenging roles, which kind of sharpens their blade a bit.
How do you then regulate their training?
Depends on their body type, I think. I think it depends on their mentality. It's a good question. I think it's also understanding what are we trying to do here. I've gotten kind of my head bitten off a few times because I've nothing against someone's on PEDs, go right ahead. I have zero experience with it. I'm not the person to ask. I'll send you to a doctor if you have questions about it. Kind of keep me out of it because it's just, if I don't take them and I can't speak firsthand, I feel like I'm the last person that should be advising you on anything. You should be speaking to a doctor. We can make training about, feeling good and getting strong and really, developing mobility and having muscle, but also if they need to put a shirt on and, be ripped, but their shirt on, they're able to put a good suit on, right? Then we have to really dial in things with calories and lifestyle. Right? If they want to put naturally, like it's to answer your question, you want to put size on, you got to eat a lot more. I think now it's regulating calories and understanding their body type and understanding how much they like to train. And, they all I'm working with a guy right now, Matt Bomer, who I haven't met in person. He was a white collar guy. Have you seen the movie, the TV show White Collar? Good looking guy. Yeah. He's a training fanatic. And it's been interesting with him because he's like, this winter I put on he went in and did his DEXA, put on some muscle, super pumped. And now we're like, okay, he's got to start leaning out for a roll a little bit. So we'll start adjusting calories a little bit, tightening things up just a little bit. Training phase is going to change a bit, right? I got him a little more into some power work, which he wasn't really much into. And, now we're going to be regulating time sets and we'll go through a full phase of this now, which I think it's going to stimulate them a little bit differently. What's different about that world, and definitely, and I'm not telling you this, but what most people don't understand is that you guys are really back in, working on it. The goal was to bench, to squat, to deadlift a certain number. And to do that, there's always this similar focus, even if you're cycling off of that phase. If you're jumping off that cycle, that mesocycle that you're on, and you're going into a deload cycle, whatever it is, the goal is still to be able to move the most weight possible. With these people, they need to become a little bit more of jack of all trades. So it's we're not worrying about their deadlift all year long, even though I love the deadlift, right? We're not worrying about the bench press all year long, even though we love the bench press. So in a way, I'll structure training to where I'm trying to really focus on different energy systems. I'm a big power building person. That's my heart. That's kind of my background. But, even right now, today was a very easy, almost like a Gironda split where I'm towards the end of the phase, 15 seconds rested between sets, really light loads. I have 2 weeks of this and then I'm gone and I'm kind of back. But I spent 10, 12 weeks in this phase right now. My body feels amazing. I got a bit leaner, right? I'm ready to start lifting heavier now. And those are things I never did in the past. So I do challenge them with different styles of training, whether it's kettlebell training or whether it's, our traditional, power building, or even something I was talking about today where we're really manipulating rest times. And that I think keeps things very interesting to them, but it also allows them not to be exceptional at anything. They become kind of good at everything, but not exceptional, which you were looking for exceptional in your category.
So, and how important is it for you? Mentioned how many training courses you've done over the years. So with what you do, working with not just those clientele, but, varying clientele, how important is it for you to have that diverse toolbox and not, you can't, it sounds like you can't really afford to be a coach that can kind of just plant their flag in the sand and be like, this is the system that worked, I'm going to do it this way, because you're going to have people that come to you just take the actor because it's an easy example. I need to look like this in this film, and then in this film I need to look like this and be able to do X, Y, and Z, and then the film after that is whatever. If you're just a guy who's this is the one way I coach, you're screwed, right?
Yeah. It is. And most people would say, well, that's bullshit. You're a coach. You should put your foot down. If I'm coming to Dave Tate for powerlifting and I want to be a world-class powerlifter, I'm going to be like, hey, Dave, what do you want me to eat? Bricks? I'll eat bricks. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do. When I was a struggling gym owner, and I have probably one of the most well-known names on the planet coming to me, that's going to pay me $120 for the year. And he said, listen, I know what you're going to want to do with me with the mobility, but if you're going to sit here and do breathing drills with me for 40, 50 minutes, which I would never do, I'm out of here. I'll bring the business elsewhere. And I said, listen, do me a favor. Come and do a few minutes of foam rolling. Give me 10 to 15 minutes a day. The term I would use, to get the body to floss a bit, kind of work on those weak points. And then you got me. And he said, done. And he had me for 3 years until he moved. So that was, I think, an approach that's really important. If you're one of these coaches that it's the be all end all, Louis was, I'm sure, the be all end all, like, don't fucking tell him what to do. You're in his home. I completely understand it. You're coming to a legend here. My game's a bit different. No one's coming to me being like, I need to be world class, even though these people take off their shirts off and they look world class. They're not. Like, I'm sorry. Like, and they all know that. Like, oh, Hugh Jackman, fine, he's got a 450 pound deadlift. Like 450 pound deadlift. Like, you're not even leading off with that. It's like, give me a break. Like I've done 450 for 15. Like, it's not that much weight, but in the public's eye it is. But what are they trying to do? They're trying to be resilient, and they're trying to take their shirts off and everyone just go, holy shit. So I think that level of education for me allowed me to have a lot of toolboxes where for maybe 80% of the people I didn't know, I didn't need it. But for a select few people that would come into me, yeah, I did.
Dave Tate here from Elite FTS to talk to you about bands. We've been a supplier of bands for almost 2 decades now. So I've known my way around the band landscape. When I'm talking about bands, I'm talking about floss bands, long bands, short bands, bands you can use for resistance training, mobility training, body weight training, and flossing. One of our most popular bands, or actually our most popular bands, are the long bands. The long bands are typically used the most with squats, bench presses. Our floss bands are bands that you wrap around the joint to be able to help with mobility, circulation. And the short bands are designed for shorter range movements, bench press, deadlifts, and a lot of times people will use them with resistance machines to help accommodate the strength resistance curve. Head over to elitefts.com and look for bands in the toolbar or blowout menu.
Because they were always kind of like, what's next? They needed to stay stimulated mentally.
I mean, you might only need that tool once, but if it's a million dollar film contract or whatever, you better have that tool. I mean, the example me and Dave spoke about earlier, and I think it was with Hugh Jackman with Deadpool 3, where he did like half the topless scenes. And then there was like this long break in filming, which there wasn't meant to be. So he got down his body fat to whatever it is in the film. And then he was like, oh shit, now I have to be this lean for like another 6 to 9 months.
Right.
Because I need to be in shape for the other shirtless scenes, which I was meant to be now. And I have no idea who was working with him at that point.
He was working with a woman named Beth. She's from Texas. Jordan Shallow, who's like, do you know Jordan Shallow? He's like a little brother to me. So he's, I was with Jordan. It was his birthday yesterday. Shout out to him. Happy birthday, bud. I know she has taken some of his courses, and I've seen the stuff that she does with him, and she's very good.
Sure. But what I'm saying is like,
and he feels good.
She had to be so adaptable there, because it can't be like, oh, you know, if you were talking to a bodybuilder, you'd be like, okay, you're stage lean. Now we need to do an off season, get your body fat back up. It's like, no, you have to be stage lean or whatever, you know, for 6 to 9 months. How are you going to achieve that with me? And you're like,
Sometimes I hate it.
That's what would be the question.
No,
if they have to be ripped, right?
I hate it.
They have to stay that way for the whole film production, which isn't a week. Most of them
don't have to stay ripped the full film production. What they'll do is they'll shoot their shirtless scenes early on just because of that. And it's smart. It's a smart thing to do, because some of them get down to a level of leanness that they're not used to being, and energy levels just going to be really, really hindered. It's fun. It's ironic that I'm actually in this business where I had to do that, because I'm more of a long-term investment type of person. Like, I've had people come to me and they're like, I'm in a contest. What's the contest? $20,000 for, we have a contest with our friends. We're going to donate. Whoever loses has to give 20 grand to the other person's charity. Yeah. And I'm like, what is that? How much do you have to lose? Whoever loses the most weight. I'm like, I'm out. I'm like, I'm out. I'm not doing it. Like, I still get anxiety. Like, I remember Joaquin Phoenix, I helped with a role once, and he turns to me in the next role, he had to lose like 40 pounds. Like, by when? He's like, a month. I'm like, what? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm out. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, I'm not, there's just certain things I can and I can't do. I can't watch someone, eat a lettuce and vinegar and smoke cigarettes for a month and that's it. Like, I just can't do it. That's why even in the PED world, which I have some of my best friends are on it, I can't speak through experience. And if I can't speak through experience, why am I sitting here trying to give advice? I'm going to send you to the best doctor and say, okay, go speak to this doctor. And I trust this person and they're conservative and they'll keep an eye on your levels and great. But that's, I've also got my head bit off. You'd be like, oh, you're 48. You're on, I'm not on anything. Or you could tell I'm not on anything. Like, my body has not, like, it's gotten sharper in the last 25 to 30 years. But like, I've been around the same size since college. Like, I'm a little bit more muscular. I definitely feel great. I definitely feel leaner. But I've shot a dozen covers in the last 20 years. So I've shot Muscle and Fitness, the cover of Muscle and Fitness 3 times since 2018 when the magazine actually existed. Not saying it was good, but like, I've had to live in that range where, like, even now I need 3 to 4 weeks out for a cover. I know how to manipulate stuff. And like, after my cover shoots, I'll go play ice hockey. Like, I'm not dehydrating my body. I'm not taking diuretics. Like, what am I doing? I'm really dialing in my macros. My training really stays the same. I really disagree with people when they're natural and they're going into these cutting phases when they get away from heavy and they just make it about heart rate. I feel like they get a bit soft and they lose that muscle density. So like, going into shoots, like a week out, I'm deadlifting over 500 pounds and which is a lot for me. And I'm squatting heavy. Hey man, I'm 210 pounds. Give you a break here. So, I'm doing those things that for me are, doubles and triples. That's heavy for someone like me, but that allows me to stay a bit dense. So I also think there's this misconception of approaching someone for a role like this. If they have a high training age and they can move, maybe I'll take that approach. But if they're a newbie and they're not used to training, you can't have them pulling doubles and triples.
Yeah.
You just can't. Like, their body's not going to support it. Like, we got to find a way to give them a bit of a different training stimulus physically and mentally, which is very important.
Now, do you handle their nutrition as well?
I do, until there are red flags. If someone's got a specific health red flag, then 100% I'll get them involved. Probably my best friend is Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. So I normally like to kick people over to her and her team, and they'll do bloods and they'll, check them out, and she will, run their nutrition. Or another great guy, Dr. Dwayne Jackson, that I really like. Dwayne's been who I think is one of the more underrated people in the industry.
Big time.
Yeah, hands down. I think he's like the sleeper. Like, he's not the big name yet, but I think his education is, I put him top 3 people that I know.
Sure. When you're dealing with these, I don't want to make it about celebrities on purpose, but it's an example that everyone will resonate with easily. You're dealing with very busy, very stressed people who have a lot of time constraints, which, is something that all of us can kind of relate to, right? We all want to be jacked. We all want to be fit and strong, whatever. Yeah. All of us have drains on our time. So when you're working with these individuals, whether they're actors or they're athletes or they're CEOs, whatever it is, what are the things that you like to implement that allow them to still get results with either big time constraints or with schedules that fluctuate a lot? Like, how do you help people navigate that? Because that's something we can all relate to.
Yeah, I think setting up, like, I'll always set up the template, but I'll always have a way to deviate from that template if they're struggling to be successful with time management, right? So I might have the plan A here, but if they, only have 30 minutes, I'm showing them how to adjust that day to where they're able to be successful. I always mix in my A block, which is typically 3 to 6 movements, which I'll normally run of 1 set. And that's their prep, right? That's their practice. So based off of my screening, what do I have to work on? And then I will run specific movements through that A block, where I'll get through that block in maybe 6 to 7 minutes. Gets their heart rate up, gets them sweating, but allows their body, like, if I bring a female in, she can't hang from a pull-up bar, like, we're going to get her hanging, right? So like, that's That's what I mean by practice. So I think a lot of times I'll have them do those A blocks when they get off of planes, when they're traveling. And I think understanding that we have to really learn how to regulate intensity and volume when we're having a tough day. When we're in a good place and shooting's good and you have time, then I'm like, okay, let's keep our foot on the gas a bit. When things get stressful, and that's why we need to communicate, because I need to understand, I need to hear their voice, and I need to, understand where they are emotionally. Then we can really start cutting back a little bit more on volume. Maybe frequency gets reduced a little bit, and maybe it's just like, listen, we're going to hold on for the next few weeks. This is a nightmare. Like because their schedules change. Like I've seen them where they have to shoot, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday during the day, and then going to a Friday night shoot, Saturday night shoot, Sunday night shoot. Like that's insane. Like they'll go home and sleep for a small gap, get back up, have to keep themselves up Friday night all night, sleep all day Saturday, or for 3 to 5 hours, whatever they can get, and do. That's not good for you. It's like, let's be very clear here. And me turning to them being like, oh, we're going to hit a 5 RM today at 80% intensity. It's like, come on, man, get real. Like we have to learn how to deviate off that. So I think it's also understanding the situation I'm in. The goal is the movie. Mm-hmm. The goal isn't like being world-class in a specific lift. The goal is the movie. So I have to figure out what to give them that's going to allow them to be successful physically and mentally.
Sure. So again, this all kind of circles back to something that we talk about so often, which is the ability to kind of know where you're at or to regulate accordingly. How much of that for you is like a cornerstone? Not obviously, you as a coach will do your best to kind of insinuate what's going on, but how much do you have to try and instill that in these individuals? Because they might walk in and smile and say all's good, but underneath we're not. So how do you go about educating them to be like, look, I know you think that you want to come in the gym and push 100%, but that's actually sometimes to your detriment. How do you kind of instill that mindset?
That's coaching. I mean, that's understanding the personality and understanding what triggers are going to hit upon them to where they actually say, all right, I'm going to do this. The worst thing ever is when they're lying to you, and then when they're coming in and how you feeling? Great. Really? You don't look great. Like, what was your readiness score today? Like, what was your, and then you start going to these metrics that I'm trying not to lean on every single day because I don't want them to be so hyper focused on it. Because guess what? When they're in the movie, when they're shooting their movie and they're doing Omega Wave or they're doing Aura, whatever you want to use, Elite HRV, I don't care what you use. And you see that your HRV's in the tank, they're going to get really depressed over that. So sometimes I could see it on their face, and then it's like, we're going to call an audible today, or sometimes not even tell them. Sometimes just be like, this is what we're going to do today. And then you just steer, well, we were supposed to do it. Yeah, you're right. But I'm the coach. Like, you did not sleep last night. You're fucking lying to me. You were up last night drinking after you were up all, like this is what we need to do. And that's just coaching, man. I can't give you a straight answer on how I would direct it to every single person because every person's different.
No, but that's a great answer. And I like the fact that you mentioned the HRV and all that stuff, because I think as great as that stuff is, we've all seen it where okay, for example, the day of a meet, I don't think I've ever seen a readiness score above 10%. and yet they hit PRs. Right. And the same thing, readiness score, they go on set and they kill it or whatever, right? Like if you read too much into that, it would kill you.
Oh.
So I just think especially with the way that AI and stuff is taken off with coaching and stuff now, your focus on, reading the person, communicating with them to see where they're actually at.
Right.
That's the stuff that for all of technology, at least yet, we can't really replace. And I think that's where maybe more coaches need to put more emphasis, because that can't be replicated, at least yet anyway.
Now, if they're not in front of you and it's a remote thing, how do you do that?
Just by voice, just by talking to them. Sometimes we don't talk. Sometimes I don't know. Like if Ryan, I'm not talking to Ryan Reynolds on set every day at Deadpool. No way. Like he would stop talking to me. It's like I just got to trust that he's doing what he's doing. But I think we also have to trust the fact that we've done really well without all this stuff. And I just think there's so much science now, and there's so much science-based, research-backed, or whatever. All these, it's we're getting away from the fact that hard work still got you to where you were. You weren't checking readiness scores back in 1985. I'm sorry. You were getting up, you felt like shit. You were going in, you were doing what you needed to do to make it happen. And you know what? It worked. It worked because you're world class. So that's what I think a lot of us get away from. We rely too much on this stuff. It takes a special person to be able to take this data and use it constructively. There's a lot of times I'm waking up and it's a lower body day, and I might be traveling the next day. Maybe my readiness isn't good. I'm not backing off. I might do an extended warm up. I call it marinating the workout a little bit in between, just get my blood going. Then out of nowhere, take some extra sets, warming up on the squat, walk off, check an email, like, out of nowhere. And then you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Some of your best lifts, you might have felt like shit. And then you come in there, the workout might have taken longer, but you found it. So sometimes the data for me, I completely ignore it. Yeah. Now, if I wake up and I feel like complete dog shit and my readiness is in the tank and I've been training like crazy and I have some flexibility in my schedule over the next few days, all right. Maybe it's a recovery day. Maybe it's an active recovery day. Maybe it's some zone 2 cardio. If I need a day off, maybe I'm shutting down completely. Maybe just some light stretching. If I don't even want to do that, maybe I'm shutting it down and eating a pizza on the couch and just letting my hair down a little bit. Like, we need to understand that, the mind gets so stressed out over this stuff that you could try and be perfect over and over and over. And like, you're not going to recover from doing zone 2 cardio all the time. I'm sorry. Like, when you're constantly, zone 2 is restorative and you're going to build your aerobic base. I get that. But like, you just can't keep adding and adding and adding and expect things to get better. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes you just got to smell the flowers, man.
True. Well, actually, one of the headings I have in my notes here is, are we trying to out-science hard work?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Yeah, but the caveat is there, how do you define hard work? And that's different for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Hard work for you is like, bring a camera back into your hardest sessions and show people that. And no one's doing that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, no one's doing that. Like, I think of the days in Steel Gym when I was in this bodybuilding gym on 23rd Street with no mirrors and there was nothing but like prostitutes and bodybuilders and puke on the floor and dark, and it was insane, and it was like some of the greatest moments of my life.
It is. I mean, but the caveat can be, there were probably phases of my years of my training that the work was too hard.
Sure.
Which negated.
Do you regret it?
No, but it could have added a few more years to my best years.
Sure.
Had that been mitigated, right? So the hard work thing just gets, it's really more nuanced than people make it to be, because the hardest you've ever worked is the hardest you've ever worked.
Sure.
Right. And that may not be that hard. So if I do an event and I try to anchor that, I would call it effort. I want to try to anchor the effort and just push somebody to the absolute max and say that was a 10. Now you really should be training at about 8. And they might have this realization of, oh, fuck, I've only been training at like a 3. You got to anchor it. You get what I'm saying? So that becomes the hard thing to do. If it's somebody remotely or whatever, you got to figure out how to do that. And then their mental capacity to be able to push hard may not be there. So their 10 may not actually be their 10, and as they become, that's true for everybody. I mean, that's why we have periodization, right? So that can be periodized up over time to be able to peak. But with most Gen Pop or the celebrities or whoever you're working with, they don't need to be 10.
No.
Right? But they can't be working at a 2.
And it's also tough to throw in a deload there when you have 8 weeks. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're turning them in week 4 or week 5, like, oh, we're going to deload now. They're like, we don't have time. Like, that's why I'm saying you got to deviate a bit and you got to play to the psyche, because like what they're going to do is what they're going to do. It's like you pray that they're taking all the nutrition notes and they're running with it. And I know who does and who doesn't, but once in a while in the past, you've had someone that's a bit lazy that's slipping off, and you're just like, all right, man, and you gotta set it straight. Like, listen, this is in your hands right now. We can go into this role knowing we did everything that we could, or you can fuck around, and I want you to accept the fact this is on you. A lot of people are going to be watching you. Don't embarrass yourself.
Yeah. So like,
comes that conversation.
We're getting optimal training for a moment,
yep.
Especially considering the conversation that we kind of opened with at the start. Do you think there's an argument to be made within the realm of training for simply programming hard things for the absolute purpose of challenge? Do you think that's something that has merit for the average individual?
I like the idea of people doing hard things. I like the idea of people challenging themselves. We know what that does to the brain function, and we understand that. I think what we all define as hard, as you said, is different. Like, I don't think jumping in a cold plunge for 3 minutes is hard. I think waking up every day and following your nutrition for the last 30 years and following your training consistently and doing that day in and day out, I think that stuff through stress and through life and through death and through your kids being born, I think that's That's the hard stuff. I think now we've softened and society is turning around and trying to call things like, well, I want you to do earthing and I want you to walk on your grass barefooted. And I'm like, that's all great stuff. I'm not denying it. But I think bringing someone into the gym and showing them that they can do something that they never thought they were able to do, I think is a really special thing. And I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from that.
True. So, I mean, we haven't got Dave saying, not everyone's got Dave there screaming at them on the hack squat to get to RPE 10, right? So I'm saying like for the average person in the average gym 3 days a week, like purposely putting something in that Friday workout, whatever, where it's like, this sucks and I hate every 5 minutes of it or whatever.
Right.
But it's there because over time, whatever that thing is that sucks will get slightly
It's going to teach them. Yeah, I think, but I think choosing the modality is really important because, I mean, and like the squat, like people going 2 reps in reserve from a squat, no one really knows what that looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like no one knows what 2 reps in reserve. 2 RIR on your squat is like, most people are like 5. Mm-hmm. They're 7. They don't really understand. So I think they take that reps in reserve and nor can they support it. Like you obviously, I'm sure your first rep and your last rep felt completely different. But I'm sure if you just took a camera from a profile and showed it, it looks the same or it looked close to the same. Where these people are starting to shallow out, they're starting to cheapen the rep. They're not really embracing, that pain and that strain. And that's where you start choosing things that might be a little bit easier to teach and create that over time. It's like that's why I like use from a cardio modality Airdyne bike because it's tough to fuck that up, right? It's like all right, we're gonna get you on there ripping some sprints on the air bike. Everyone can do it. It's easy. Having someone sprint all out is a skill. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to have a newbie come and do that. So I think, again, like with lifting, it's the same with cardio. I think we just have to understand the person and we have to understand the modality and we have to understand what to assign. And then from there, you can build on it like anything else.
I think it's all exercise specific. One of the things we can kind of pull from cardio is if you're going to train in a zone 2, your zone 2 on an Airdyne will be different than it is on a treadmill, will be different than it is on a rower, but you don't know what that is unless you have and have tested what your max heart rate is.
Right.
Right. So if you don't know what your max effort is on any set exercise, then you don't know what the 2RR is and so forth. Not saying they should max out on every exercise.
Very tough thing to get someone to max out on heart rate. It's like I just won't use it with most people because I'm nervous they're going to have a heart attack.
Well, exactly. I mean, I'm not saying to do that either, but that's the true gauge, unless you're going to use like a Morpheus or something like that to be able to kind of gauge of where that's going to be. But so with the different movements like a squat, it's an interesting one with the squat because 2RIR on a 5 rep max is going to feel way different than a 20 rep max.
Oh yeah.
Like it's 2 different fucking worlds.
Oh yeah.
Where other movements aren't going to be like that.
Right.
Like a seated cable row, the fucking 5 RIR and the 15 RIR kind of the.
But I don't really see people doing that much anymore. I mean, looking back on like my biggest lifts, which aren't even in your realm, like I remember, squatting a number for 30 reps. I did 3 wheels once for 30 reps. And by rep number 15, I thought I was going to die. Like my legs were like, I was like convulsing. And I had my best friend who was a German bodybuilder behind me who died in 2010. We found him dead in his apartment. I had his body autopsied because he didn't have family. His testosterone was north of 3,000. So he was in a bad place. But thinking back on it now, I don't see people challenging themselves that way. I see them, the hack squat's hard, the leg press, sure, it can be hard, but I think they're also assigning themselves to exercises that aren't really challenging their soul the way that you were challenged. Like I'm sure like you've gotten into sessions that no one, probably not even I, could have imagine or energy at Westside or, when you have those type of people coming in and they're not training to look good for a movie. This is like what they know. This is what they live for. This is what they do. And this is not like, oh, let's go get a workout. Like you're going in, you're going to war. Right? Like that's what it probably felt like. And so I don't think people can really understand what it was you put yourself through for that period of time. But it's gotten so far in the opposite direction now where I go into Bev Francis Powerhouse Gym once in a while and, I see kids just like on the preacher curl and on the machine chest press and they're like dropping weight and they have like 10 reps in reserve. And I'm like, this is the same kid I heard complaining why he can't put muscle on.
It drives me fucking crazy.
No, but it does. People are like, oh, you don't care about this stuff. Look, I do, because you want to see people doing it better. Mm-hmm. Like, as someone who's in this sport or someone who's in this industry, you want to see the young kids come up, and like, nothing would make me happier when I walk into a gym and I see a young kid like working for his life, like just pushing himself and doing everything right. Like, I've seen it a few times where you see this kid just locked in, tension techniques, pressing, whatever it is, and they just look like this ball of granite. This ball of granite, right? And we've lost that now, and it's like sad, but it's also the reason why most of them look like shit.
No, it's
they do. You can't you admit that? I mean, they do.
It's worse than that, because I've told this story before. But last time I was down in Myrtle Beach, I suppose, I'll go to a commercial gym to train, because usually it's deload. It's not that big of a deal, and I'm on the treadmill and I watch what people do. And it's not the young kids, right? Because most of the time in these commercial gyms, it's going to be an older demographic, mm-hmm. 45, 65, and they're going through the machines, right? And this frustrates the fuck out of me. And
you can feel the blood pressure.
I'm starting to sweat. I'm like,
first, they're ignorant, right? They don't know any better. I can't blame them. That's why they joined the fucking club in the first place. And they'll move from machine to machine and not change a fucking setting, right? And that's like, what the fuck, right? And there are fucking signs on every machine that show you how to set it up, by the way. I'm not blaming the fucking member, right? I'm blaming the club and the facility and the fucking trainer that's with them, right? Because there's a trainer with them a lot of times. And then they're doing like quarter rep range of motions. Many times they don't even change the fucking weight as they go from one machine to the next. They're just using what the last person used. Crazy. And I'm sitting there this last time, and I'm watching this for 45 fucking minutes, because that's what my dumbass cardio is at the time. All right. I mean, I got nothing better to do. And so I'm just observing this, and it's like, what the fuck, right? And then I go in the locker room, because you got to go through there to be able to go in the steam room, because I figured that, fuck, if I'm here, I may as well do the steam and fucking pool and stupid shit that old fuckers do that I used to make fun of all the time, but now I find myself doing it. It's like, if I could see myself, if my 20-year-old could see myself right now, I'd punch myself in the fucking face.
I love it.
But as I'm in there, two of the trainers start having this discussion, about all the shit that's going on with the pesticides and all this shit that's fucking up all the health. And I'm thinking to myself, motherfuckers, you're the front line of defense here, right? You're bitching about all this other shit that you have no control over, but you can control your own fucking clients.
And you're not doing it.
I'm way more reserved today than I was 20 years ago. So I didn't say anything, but all I'm thinking in my head is, motherfucker, go out there and just teach these fucking people how to do the movements through a full range of motion. They're going to feel way better, by the way, because they are doing that. And train your fucking client. One guy, still can't figure this fucking thing out, had a stopwatch. Fine, whatever. I'm trying to figure out for 5 fucking minutes what the stopwatch is for. You time and rest intervals, I get that. Sure. If it's a circuit, you're trying to get them through that, I get that. Sure. The fucking guy was timing the set. Mm-hmm. Set starts, time it, set stops, untime it.
Just to kind of see how much time under attention he was.
Yeah, but it's not like, fuck. I still don't understand the whole purpose of all that.
Yeah.
So I guess the purpose of my rant is, in this industry, it's fucked up because it's always been fucked up. They're really quick to push the responsibility and accountability on all these other entities. But meanwhile, not look at themselves and say, 100%. Look, I'm the trainer, or I'm the fitness instructor, or I'm the gym owner. It's my responsibility to make sure I'm helping these people get better, because none of these people I'm talking about know better.
Right.
That's why they joined the fucking place.
Right. It's just a really funny story to add to that, because you made me think of this. A woman messaged me yesterday. She messaged, I answered her this morning, and she says, I have one of your programs. It says a 1-arm lat pull down. The gym I work out at won't allow us to remove the straight bar from the pull down.
I can see that. Nothing surprises me at this point anymore.
What should I do? I said, go to a dual adjustable.
Yeah.
Sit on the ground if you can do that. Hold on to the column, or do the regular lat pull down. But I kept, it was a community video I was answering. I kept saying, I don't understand why the gym would tell you not to do that. And then like 2 minutes, like 2 seconds later, I'm like, I don't really understand why the gym, I said it like 3 or 4 or 5 times. I just kept repeating it. And I'm blown away, but I'm also not.
Well, I can tell you, they're probably doing it because if they have the different handles that are adjustable, people are going to leave it on the floor.
100%.
Right. And they don't want to have to worry about picking it all up. So they probably, if they're smart, they probably welded the clip so nobody can take anything off, which is stupid.
There's no way they welded the clip, by the way. Yeah. There's no, they're not even that smart.
That's the only reason I can see.
No, I'm with you.
As a former gym owner, then the trainers that Dave is describing there, there's the stereotype or whatever. How many of those are also the trainers that are going to their gym owner or their head coach or whatever and saying, I don't understand why I'm not getting 40 hours a week or whatever?
They never really came to me saying, I don't know why I'm not getting business. They would come to me saying, I'd like more money.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I've never seen this in what we would call like a black iron or more hardcore gym, because normally that's where I go. Right. But sometimes I'll go to the other ones because I can get in and out faster. Right.
I boycott, like I won't, like if it's a difference between, if someone gave me a week past Equinox, I refuse it. Like I won't go. I'll find like a Gold's, or I'll find some local ran washed up bodybuilder spot, or like I have a 2,000 square foot facility in my backyard. So I use that. It's perfect. But I'll go to Bet Francis Powerhouse Gym because that place is like, you know, the East Coast Mecca, fantastic. Nowhere near, like they don't have a bar selection there. It's like, here's your fucking bar. Yeah. And a couple of guys who do like Olympic lifting or they do powerlifting, they store the bars, their bars in Steve's storage closet. So like we'll go grab one here and there, but I can't go into a facility like that anymore.
I don't know if I'm going to ever do it again.
It's it's too annoying, and mentally it distracts me because I'm picking up on too many personality flaws from the management staff to the sales team coming up to you while you're on the floor, to people, you know, as simple as sitting on the lap pull down when they're done, not standing up. They're just on there texting. It's someone coming over asking, can they work in? They say, I'm working on here.
Hey guys, if you're enjoying what you're watching, make sure to take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, get the fuck up, answer your text while you're standing, let the person work in. Like, I cannot stand the level of etiquette. People who feel entitled and they can't clean up their own weights. I had a woman once turn to me in my club and she left her weights on, and I said, so-and-so, please, you got to clean up your weights. She said, well, that's what your staff's here for. I said, oh no. I said, my staff's not here for that. My staff's here to make sure your experience is good, and your job is to get a great training session and, you know, be around great people and clean up your weights. And if you do that again, we're gonna have a problem. Yeah. And she was like, oh, but I don't care. I have a zero tolerance policy with that stuff. I'm so washed up when it comes to seeing the crap like you're talking about, that now it's at the point where, like, if someone's not getting up, I would just go over and be like, get up, let them work in, or I'm going to management. True. I don't even want to put myself, I want to go to the shitty gym with good equipment with no windows.
That's where I tell people to go. Like, if they want to start training, 100%. That's where I push them. Yeah. It's like, don't go there.
Everyone's nicer too. Like, everyone's just nicer, more respectful. They just don't really.
Interesting. Right.
You said earlier, like, yes, we are trying to out-science hard work, right? Just to backtrack there a little bit. I was going through your Instagram, I was stalking you in the good way.
Thank you.
There was a lot of exercise tutorials on there. Yeah. And the thing that, and this is meant in a very complimentary way, the thing that stuck out to me was they were all very simple. Yeah. And that was really cool to see. Appreciate it. Because there was no like, here's the secret exercise that I got to someone to get in whatever shape for whatever. None of that. It was just like, here's how you do a farmer's walk. Go do them. Yeah. Right. So do you think that too many of us are, and many of them people would call regressions, like a goblet squat, for example. I
call it lateralizations. Yeah. Okay. Because I'm just like, I get what you're saying.
I'm saying this because I don't agree with the term. Right. I think people make the presumption that they're beyond whatever set regression is. How much do you think that people are maybe bypassing movements like the goblet squat that they really shouldn't be? Like, they're just going in a gym, putting a bar on their back and presuming they can back squat well, right?
Right. So I think people like to do what's fluffy. And and I think the person on social media who's putting up those sexy movements, I think they're going to really draw eyes and they're going to bring them. I think you got to make a decision as a coach. what if you are, I think there's a coach and an influencer. If you're a coach, like what are you trying to portray as a coach? And my whole thing as a coach is, listen, I'm going to try and teach. I'm going to try and educate. A lot of the stuff I put up, they're based off of questions that I ask. I never use the word best. I just don't do it. Do I back squat? Do I front squat? Do I Zercher squat? Do I Frankenstein? Yes. I do them all. I like mixing those into phases. Might be a good thing, might be a bad thing. I enjoy doing them, but I know there's not a one size fits all. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to turn to people and be like, listen, in a nicer way, you haven't really earned the right to have the bar on your back right now. Like your ankle dorsiflexion is dog shit. You're having knee pain. Let's do something. Let's get you a little more hip dominant. Let's get you to a box if you do want, or maybe a safety squat bar, shoulder mobility shit. Like I believe that's coaching, and I believe that's what we need, and I believe that's what I want to teach. But it's funny with social media now because people find they think success comes down to your following, and for me, like monetarily, I'm like, well, your email list is way more valuable than your following. Like I put so much into my email list, and my social media supports that and it helps that. But I'm not like, even with the shirtless stuff, like I'll do a shirtless thing here and there. I don't want my whole page being all that. Because I don't want to be that Guido on who's ever like, oh, he's just shirtless. Like, it's just not what I want to portray, but you will see some stuff up in there on occasion. It's just my choice. True. That's what I've decided. But I agree with you 100%. I think those movements, like if they just, I'm a believer that if they got exceptional at those basic movements, I think it checks a lot of boxes.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Is there a general kind of misunderstanding or underestimation of how far those regressions can actually get you?
I think so. I think people, I think they don't really exhaust the basic lifts or the lateralizations. I think goblet squat, to me, you brought it up twice, so I'm going to give you my opinion. This is just my opinion. Again, please, I'm not teaching you guys anything, but I believe that when I'm starting with someone and I begin with the goblet squat, once I exhaust the goblet squat because their arms aren't strong enough, I can get into the double bell, where I feel like the lats are much more engaged, more in that rack position. And then from there, I can make a decision on what direction do I want to go with my lifts. If they want to venture off into that bar work, are we going to the front squat? I do like teaching the Zercher, even though that's a very painful movement for most people. I feel like that's just a really heavy goblet squat.
Oh, I love it.
And I love it. I think there's this learning curve there, and I think people will instantaneously get really turned off by it. But getting your Zercher squat really strong for me has checked so many boxes for me when it comes down to my body. And yes, I still like to back squat. I was never much of a low bar back squatter. I always was a high bar guy. And I got in a low bar. I reached out to Sebastian Stan. You know him, the Australian strength coach. I really like his stuff. He trained my buddy Marcus Leone, who's a friend of Jordan, who I think Marcus finished like second in the current. He's like a real estate guy. He's a savage. He's just the greatest guy too. I love him to death. And Marcus introduced me to Seb, and Seb built my programs out for like probably a quarter. And I had a lot of good success with it. I fucked my shoulder up because of ice hockey. So I was playing like once a week, and I took a bad fall. So I had to lay off the competition benching and the low bar squatting. So then, you know what? I looked at it I was like, okay, you know what? Like I was getting real strong. It's unfortunate. I learned a ton from him in those 4 months because it was a completely different approach to what I'm normally used to. Learned a lot from him. And it allowed me to venture into something that I needed to start practicing again. And my body recovered really well from it, and now we're off to the races again. So,
because I asked that question because I think even we take powerlifting out and we just talk people in the gym in general. I think certain exercises are put up on a pedestal because of their association with certain sense sports or whatever, and then people end up overlooking these exercises that maybe might be the best for them. I remember last year I started doing a lot of Bulgarian split squats.
Oh, love.
And I asked a friend of mine who coaches a lot of like judo athletes, and we're talking like judo athletes who are like, oh, maybe they're going to go to the Olympics, that type of level. And I was like, what do you do with them in terms of leg work? He's like, I don't go past Bulgarian split squats with them. Like, I don't need to, because when they're doing what they're doing, if I can avoid putting something on their shoulders, I do. And I was like, okay, so what's a good Bulgarian split squat for like a judo athlete? And he turns around and he goes, oh, most of them are doing like 400 to 455 for like triples. And you know what the average judo athlete...
But wait, hold on. But he's not putting a bar on his back.
Sorry. He says...
Yeah.
He doesn't have them squat. I can't remember. Thank you.
Yes.
He meant that he wouldn't have them straight bar squatting.
Yes. Okay.
And if he can limit the load he puts on their back, then he will.
Yeah, sure.
So they're like safety bar squatting, Bulgarian split squatting, like 400 plus.
That's a lot of weight.
And all of a sudden in my head, I was just thinking like, man, that really reframes the idea in my head of like, when is someone past the Bulgarian split squat now? In my head, you know, at some point you're like, oh, well, the dumbbells get too heavy and then you're doing it on a bar or whatever. Okay, now you should be back squatting. But then I was like, damn, like these things can be taken
you could
way
farther, the safety bar Bulgarian, I think, is a tool I've used for someone who's really strong. And Jesus Christ, I mean, I might run up to like 150s in each hand. I'm strapping up for that, and that's hard, but you know, that's 450s another level.
But again, do you think that's another example of Bulgarians are hard? Right,
they're really hard.
Back squats are hard. Don't get me wrong. Bulgarians are hard in a different way, should we say? Again, do you think maybe subconsciously this is a way of people like avoiding the stuff that's really, really hard and just saying, well, you know, those holding those dumbbells, those 150s, that's kind of hard now. I don't like that. I'll just go on a bar and do my back squats with, you know,
until they have Dave standing behind you, getting you to two reps in reserve. Yeah, man, those are some hard exercises, and I find that people really want to stay away from a lot of the hard stuff. And I think, you know, you also got to ask yourself, what are people doing this for, right? Like it's like, we all love this. Like when I walked in this morning, I saw you through the window, and I was like, yeah, baby, here we go. I don't even know, I knew who you were, but it's nice to see people who come in and respect the gym, and they approach it the way that you approach it. But I've also come to the realization that a lot of people just don't want what I want with this stuff. And, you know, you got to accept that. And as soon as you know that, I think you're going to be successful in the business of coaching, because then you're not trying to sit there forcing them to do things that you don't want to. As a parent, right? That's where, like, I think the first lesson for me was, because, you know, I love my kids more than life. My son's athletic, but I don't write programs for my son. Like he doesn't, I don't, if he asked me to do it, I would do it. I maybe wrote one for him once. He asked me for it. I was like, no problem, bud. Right. He comes to me one day and he goes, can I show you something? He's like, I want to get your opinion on this and give me your honest opinion. I go, sure. He goes, there's this like TikTok influencer, this Brazilian guy, Dad, look how shredded he is. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh, cool. He's like, what do you think of the program I'm doing? It's his program. And I looked down at him and I was like, all good movements. Was it the way I'd put it together? Sure. What am I going to do? Like it's nothing was offensive. That's the word I'm going to give you. Nothing was offensive. It was good movements. Son was a little bit younger than he is now. The guy didn't really have him loading the spine, had him doing lunging, specific things. There were things that were left out, but I'm like, you know what? D, it's great. Are you having fun with it? Yeah. It's like, do it. Just let me know if you need any help. Now, most people will be like, well, you should have guided him. I'm dad. Like I'm so happy he's doing something that if I turn around, I'm like, well, I progressed this out for you over the next 8 weeks. And he doesn't want to do that. He's kind of enamored by this guy because the guy looks great. And, you know, it's a different program and it's not dad.
It's good enough.
It's good enough.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, you know, it took me a while to get there, but when I learned to do that with my son, I think, you know, I'm also learning that with people, the last thing you want to do is you want to discourage someone coming in for GPP, like, right, general physical preparedness, the general pops coming in here. You know, nothing's better when you get someone off the couch and you grow them or you help develop them over time. I think if you can go in there and you fuck them up because you're asking them to do a lot of what it is you really enjoy, I just don't think you're a good coach.
On that then, like your son comes to you with this program, right? How much do you think it's undervalued, the level of buy-in that a program has? So, you know, we've all seen some really stupid programs.
Sure.
Get some really good results.
Yeah.
Because the buy-in was there, right?
Yeah.
So like as a coach now, when you're dealing with whoever you're dealing with, how much does your ultimate program that you put forth to them, how much of that is taken from, I know they like X, Y, and Z, so that needs to be in there to get the buy-in, which gets you the work ethic, and how much comes from this is the mobility?
I think buy-in's really important with someone early on, right? I think when you don't have that level of trust with them, I think that's when it's really important. I had a really annoying interaction 20 years ago. I'm really good friends with this guy now, one of my investors, but he comes to me and he goes, you know, it's 2005, right when I opened. Yo, man, I want to do these TRX workouts. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a fucking nightmare, right? So I'm trying to get business. I'm like, yeah, what do you want? I don't want to, like, any barbell work, kettlebell work, dumbbell work, nothing. Dude, I want it all. It's great for your core. So I'm like, holy shit, like my heart's racing. So I'm like, now I got to figure this out. So I'm like, I go, no problem. We could do that. Let's start next week. So I go home and I start like creating like this suspension trainer workout. And I come in and start running them through it. And I'm trying to avoid anything that's offensive. I'm not doing any of this crazy BOSU crap. And a month later, he looks at me and goes, dude, this is incredible. What do you got for me now? And I just look at him, I go, what do you mean? He goes, no, I think we're done with this. You're talking about the bell a little bit, right? You like the bell. Like, let's get off this. Let's start doing the stuff that I see you doing in the gym. I said, great. And it was like, it took me a month to get him to buy in. Mm-hmm. I then had him for 15 years. It's like, so if you're walking in there and you're seeing me on day one and you're like, you see Don Saladino over there, like Don has not moved off the TRX the entire fucking hour. Like this guy, like, what is he doing? Like we're very quick to judge. And I've realized a buddy of mine trains do you know Derek Hansen?
No.
You got to get him on. He's one of the best spring coaches that I know. Phenomenal guy from Vancouver. He'd be like the first guy I would tell you, I'll do an intro to him. He's phenomenal. His running mechanics workshop, phenomenal. But Derek was working with a celebrity client and like I'm coming in one day and they're like just benching one day. And Derek's a phenomenal. And I'm like, what's up with this guy? He's like benched. Like all he did was bench today and he did like lap pull downs. Like these guys just sat there. He looks at me and he goes, he doesn't want to do anything else. You got it? And I said, got it. But I laughed. Derek's a great coach, but Derek's been working with this guy for like a decade and he's in shape and Derek figures out a way. There's certain days where they come in and they do one or two movements and there's other days he's able to manipulate it in. He's an actor. Derek's going to play to his strengths. Derek's looking at it more in a week. Mm-hmm. What do I need to get in? Like, I know I need to get A, B, C, D, E, F, G in a week. And I'm going to get this in a little bit untraditionally, right? And you've seen it. You've seen the one workout a day, the one exercise a day program. Like different things have worked. Really unusual approaches have worked really well for certain people. And I just think like that buy-in piece, you can write the best program on the planet. It could be a Dave Tate powerlifting program. It could allow me to win the World Series of powerlifting. Like if I come in there and I'm up, which any idiot should be doing his stuff. But if I'm not bought into it, I'm doing them an injustice.
Do you think some of that comes down to ego? So like, you know, that scenario you had there with your client, your friend who's a great coach, he knows that other coaches are going to look at him when his client's just doing lap pull downs for an hour or whatever and think, this guy doesn't know his stuff or whatever. Do you think that's what's stopping more coaches maybe being a bit more flexible to get that buy-in? Because they think like, I have to do the stuff that looks good so that other clients who are in the gym watch me and see that. I
think you see a lot of that. But I just don't know anymore because I'm working in a gym all the time and I'm not really, I see it, but I also see really good coaches. Like I'm around really good coaches because they come to my facility to train with me. And so I'm training like with guys like Jordan Shallow, right? Like I'm training with good Charlie Weingroff. I'm training with good coaches who know what they're doing. So I'm kind of surrounded by people who, take a lot of pride in this stuff. And I really remove myself from that big box, glitzy club atmosphere type of spot because I don't want to go in there and I don't want to talk. I just want to go in there and I want to do what I need to do. And it's kind of like my sanctuary.
Sure. The one thing you mentioned your Garonda style workout, right? Which you did.
Oh, that's just right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about that. Yeah, I get that. And that's what I want to see. I think the post that I saw, you coined the term like flipping the script or whatever. Yeah. So, kind of do the opposite style of training.
Yeah. I get it. But I'm not always telling people to do that. But I
So what's the thinking behind that for you?
Like my body felt like shit. I was doing so much sagittal stuff right on the last program in hockey and my hips and my shoulders. It felt like shit. And, I'm someone that will take a lot of rest in between my big sets. When I get to my accessory stuff, the rest will come down. And I felt like I wanted to do some take a work capacity approach, which I will with like a Gironda type program, which ironically speaking, I'd probably run back to his template like 6 to 8 weeks a year. It's almost like in a way, it's a bit of a deload for me, right? Because it still allows me to train with some intention. I still have a plan. I sweat. The pump is insane, but the loads are so light, which I hate, that I just feel it. But for some reason this year, I embraced it more and I ran through it. I'm in like my last 2 weeks of it. And, so flipping the script for me was almost something like intuitively, it was telling my body, I'm like, I can't I couldn't, like my AC joint was killing me. I had like a burst on the side of my hip from hockey. Like I fell on a puck, like everything that could have went wrong that time went. And I would resort back to that program when I had to do some type of training under lighter loads. the lifts became basic. I would mix in like a 20 to 30 minute span of practice where I'd run a timer and I'm doing like handstand work and I'm doing my thoracic extension, my thoracic rotation, hip mobility. I'm doing all that stuff, hanging, and I'm running through that 20 to 30 minutes. And then I'd get into his program, which only takes 30 minutes. It's not a long program. But it's interesting because like the first 2 weeks, you're running like a 4x12 at 45 seconds. The next 2 weeks, you're running a 6x8 at 30 seconds. The next 2 weeks, you're running an 8x6 at 20 seconds. And the final 2 weeks, you're running a 12x4 at 15 seconds. So it's just like go, go, go. But that's where I kind of differ from most people, because a lot of my friends would be like, that's stupid. Like, that's just, why would you do that? Like, my body feels good and my body got leaner and I felt like my nervous system really recovered from the shorter workouts. And it really is a nice thing to venture off for me if I feel like my body is just getting battered. Because my biggest problem is not overreaching. And I get on a new program, I get excited, I have new focus, I go, 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 go. If deloads aren't structured in there, it's like, I'll go off the reservation. It's just because I'll just start doing more and more and more because I'm obsessed and I love it. So
with those really short rest periods you're talking about there, obviously we can argue scientifically optimal, whatever, right? In that example with like 15 seconds or 30 seconds, whatever.
I don't think it's optimal for hypertrophy.
No, we're not saying that. What I am saying is, how much of a benefit do you think it is for others when they have those short rest periods? The thing it's going to make sure is they can't switch off.
Yeah, no.
You don't have time to answer your 3 emails.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult for most people. Like, I leave a timer and I leave a sheet of paper. And if you see me with the pen going over and like hitting a dash, that's just like 4 dashes is the first, next 4 is the second. The next 4 is my 12 sets. And then I move on. And that's kind of like when I went in today, it was a joke. It was like 3 movements, easy. I'm thinking of this as a deload. And it's kind of nice right now because traveling, big delays yesterday, on a plane today. It'll be a nice 2 weeks for me before I venture into my next phase of training. So yeah, I'm not going to say that this is optimal. I'm not saying I would hand this to Jordan and be like, he'll say, I'll do that. He doesn't like that. But I know with me, I have a high level of success mixing like a short bout of like a phase like this for a block of training. That's something.
For you then, does it kind of reframe those, for all those who are listening who think like, I don't have time to dedicate to the gym or whatever, like, does it make you realize how productive you can be in the time, in those types of time frames? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're willing to let it suck a bit, I bet, those workouts last 30 minutes. How many sets or whatever do you get done, you know?
Today was probably the easier of the ones because I had to get on that tsunami bar because I was supposed to do pull-ups and I was like, there's no way I'm getting on the pull-up bar and doing this today. I got to just feel this bar. And I surprisingly was like, I could not believe the amount of engagement I was able to get in my lats. It felt almost way more than with like a straight bar. So, that's also a beautiful thing about coming to a place like this is it becomes this like buffet of equipment that you normally wouldn't have access to. And it starts giving you ideas of what you want to bring into your spot. But like I can't reiterate enough when people hear me doing an approach like that, that's a short term, it's a short block. But let me tell you, I really enjoyed it. It was fun.
I think that for it to be long-term optimal, there has to be a lot of periods of non-optimal. Right? Because if it stays optimal all the time to where it's just wear and tear, then you're going to end up having injury.
How do you do it?
Able to train.
How do you do it? Like someone who's been so strength focused your entire life, do you ever go that far from the grain? I'm expecting you not to do something like I'm doing right now, but do you ever
I pull the volume way down and I'll drive the intensity way up.
Yeah.
Right. So the weekends are always strength days. So they're based on a phasic structure with that. Which,
and you said benches. Did you say squat is Sunday?
Squat would be Saturday. Bench would be Sunday. My bench sucks. So the bench is just, a friend day.
Are you still deadlifting?
Fuck no. I hate the deadlift.
I love the deadlift.
I've always hated the deadlift.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But the stuff during the week, that gets pulled way back to where what was today? Like 3 work sets total, but they're fucking work sets. That's it. Now that's also because the cardio is way up. When the cardio comes back down, that will come up a little bit more. So I got like hypertrophy, I guess, during the week, and then strength on the weekend. Then I just kind of physically structure that over a period of time. But you don't, for those week training days, I find the minimal effective dose, and then I'll run that, especially if the cardio is really high, because there's a lot of stressors that are all at play at one time.
Sure.
And so I'm going to reduce that to the minimal that it possibly needs to be. Now, the sets that I do have to be fucking hard, really hard. I would say like HIIT training, type hard, really hard. And that will become exhausting over a period of time, right? And I can't scale that. Like I can scale it from that one work set to say 4 work sets, but that level of effort's going to have to come down. And that will happen throughout the next phases that kind of go through there. Right now, I'm just in this fucking weird ass cardio phase, to try.
How long do you map your phases out for? You personally?
3 months. Yeah,
so
3 months.
So you'll just sit down, you'll map that out, and then based towards, do you start assessing at a certain point? Like, all right, this is good, or this is no bueno. Like, are you ever in that?
Everything's based upon my squat, so the squat's what's really thought out, so it's all kind of in there. So I can base it on where that is and how that feels. But as my weights come down year over year over year, I'm always kind of reassessing because leverages are changing too, so I have to reassess what the end goal kind of would be. But if I don't have all those other factors in play, the cardio to be able to help with recovery, the accessories and the mobility, I'm not going to be able to do what I really want to do. Right. Because I hate all the other shit. The only thing I like to do is to squat.
Squat's your thing.
Yeah, so that's just kind of my thing. So it rotates around that way. But like I said, I do it by the reduction of volume and then bringing the volume back. Yeah. When it needs to come back up.
Smart.
So
I like it.
It just, and how I feel, I'm just now starting to work with the Morpheus, to be able to help with,
that unit's been around a long time.
Yeah. I'm surprised. I had one sent to me a long time ago and I couldn't hook it up or whatever the fuck. And I just said, fuck it, and didn't really deal with it.
Wait, that's not Joel Jameson.
It's Joel.
Yeah, it is Joel.
So Joel's.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially it's kind of based upon the Omega wave and so forth. And so now that's providing some variety into the cardio. Cause now with the cardio where it is now, I don't want to make it more, like 45 to 60 minutes a day on the non-strength days. That's like a cap. That's enough. I don't want to fucking take it more. But
where's your heart rate at?
When most of it would be zone 2, maybe 30 minutes a week total would be higher than that.
And what are you using? Treadmill or using bike or what?
Treadmill, bike.
Yeah.
And
it is different. As you said earlier, it
takes
crazy.
a while to get used to it, then now it's kind of used to it, but something has to come out when that comes back up. But now the question is, how can I make that 30 or 40 minutes more optimal? The same way you would with strength training, you're going to slowly build the volume up, to build the work capacity. Then you're going to start looking at what are you doing with that volume to be able to get the best gains out of that. Right. Where the HRV, the Morpheus, I think can help, to optimize that. So when I do pull it back down, the 20 minutes isn't just going to be me walking on a treadmill at a fucking simple pace that is simply just doing circulation, but can still keep the heart doing what I want the heart to do.
Are you documenting all this stuff on your site?
Fuck no. No, I should.
You should.
I should.
Because you know what? You've got a great fan base and you've got a bunch of young guys that I think would really benefit. That you could set up like a short membership fee where you're like, listen, I'm going to post everything I do every day from my training approach. I'm going to even put some notes down, and you're journaling this stuff anyway. So just journal it, have your team put it up, and it's like done. Like I think that'd be a good thing for people to see for you.
Most of the people listening just need to fucking walk. For 10 or 15 minutes a day. I mean, that's my biggest thing when I'll have people out like you guys that, work with general fitness or people that aren't in the strength world. Sure. Is the reason I have you guys out is because where the strength athletes fuck up all the time, and Tom can attest to it because he works with them, is not in what they do in the gym. Mm-hmm. It's all the other shit that they're actually worse than most gen pop. Yeah. When it comes to sleep, diet, and other habits, think of that. They're worse than most gen pop.
That's sad.
But yet their stimulus that they're putting through their body is way higher. They just may not have to deal with the total overall stress of all the other things that Gen Pop may have to deal with if it's work, kids, family, all those other things. Maybe those are reduced because they don't have kids and they don't give a fuck about their job and all the other kind of things. So there's some reduction there, but it blows my fucking mind that, you know, especially in today's age, you're like, just get on the treadmill for fucking 10, 15 minutes every time you come in the gym. It's going to kill my gains. You're a dumb fuck.
Yeah, no.
You're a dumb fuck. That's not true at all.
Yeah.
And it's actually proven opposite.
Yeah.
You know, so how that still sticks is beyond me.
You know, I started doing that years ago for the simple fact that I found I was sleeping better. Like I was measuring readiness years ago. I'm an investor in Aura. I've been with them for a long time. And I was using Omega Wave for years with Val. Like he got me hooked up through Charlie. And so, I mean, HRV now is something I've been experimenting with probably since 2010, maybe even earlier. And I noticed anytime I would go and mix in some additional walking or some steady state, I mean, it was like 10 out of 10 times my sleep score was like always better. It was
crazy.
It was crazy. And I'm like, oh, well, that's just a reason. Well, if I sleep better, I'm going to have more energy and I'll probably feel stronger. So don't worry about the whole gains thing, whether it's true or not. Like just focus on that. And I did. And it was obviously a good move. So
I also think it's interesting that, you know, to go with your example there, like, we'll worry about, you know, what variation of squat or whatever. And, you know, I get the specificity, but also like, it doesn't matter when we have the various experts that we're lucky enough to have on here. It doesn't matter whether they're coaching Ryan Reynolds or an NFL football player or an ultra marathon runner or whatever. There's a lot of things they all talk about that are the exact same. Like if you want to get the most physical performance out of a human being, whatever physical performance means to that human being, there's some things there that are pretty important and they're all the same pretty much for all of them, right? So why do we then assume that those concrete pillars, those tenets don't apply to us?
Worse than that, why do you try to fucking biohack it? Like, I don't need to sleep if I can use a fucking red sauna. It's like, motherfucker. Holy you know what I'm saying? Like this is my other bitch. These recovery modalities that you're
I got them down here.
Yeah, those fucking recovery modalities that you're putting in are a clue that your program sucks.
Bear in mind, you're talking to someone who has a red light bed in his house.
Hold on.
I know. I was just probably doing the shit.
There's a time, you know, there's a time and reason for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, but if you have to rely on them to recover from your training, then maybe your training sucks.
You said biohacking to me and I started shaking. Like earlier we said something. When did you start going off the reservation when what we were talking about earlier?
From the start.
The trainers, you mean?
The trainers, and he started, I could tell, like we hit a nerve here. The biohacking piece, you just got me a little bit, shaky. This is what I was talking about earlier with doing things that are hard. Now, just to answer your question, the red light was more for my skin. I had sunspots. They sent me a free unit. I used it at work, the sunspots.
Oh, it wasn't a criticism.
No, not at all. But I want everyone to understand why I use what I use. I will use the modalities, but for me, it's the cherry on the whipped cream.
What's the emotions?
It's like, stop trying to hack your way in. I also like sleep well and I eat really well and my training's good and my lifestyle. It's like the things I can control, I can control. The things I can't control at times, it's life. I mix these things more in for mental and that they feel good. I can't stand when you have a guy, I said his name, that's, you know, promoting this stuff. All they want to do is talk about these things. They won't want to talk about exercise or training, or they want to make up bullshit protocols. A well-known doctor the other day, I'm not going to say his name, but a well-known doctor turned around and talked about a suitcase carry protocol. You should be able to hold your body weight, half in one hand, half in the other hand for 1 minute long, And that means you're going to be able to open a jar when you're older. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Like, that is completely false. You completely made that up. That is completely horseshit. I'm a 210-pound man. So you're trying to tell me I got to put a 105-pound weight in one hand, a 105-pound weight in the other hand, and walk for a minute? I can do it. Do you think that's easy? Not easy for most people. So now grandma, who weighs 120 pounds, has to carry 60 in one hand and walk for 1 minute, and that is your fucking protocol?
To open a jar.
Let me give you some news. Anyone whose goal in life is to open jars every day.
Do you
No. I'm
progressively larger, like harder to open?
We're not even going to go overboard here. We're not even going overboard here. I want you to do this every day, and like you brush your teeth. Actually, put it next to your toothbrush and toothpaste. So you brush them, open and close the jar. You're going to do it with both hands. You're going to be really good. This is our problem. You've got these guys who are intelligent. They can read, they can retain information more than the next person. And they're now claiming to be an expert, and everyone's drinking out of their hands because they sound smart. Yet they're not strong and they don't look the part. Like, I'm sorry, like, why am I going to listen to you? Because you're smart and you can't apply anything that you're doing. And that's where I think we need to listen to these people and understand that a lot of their information might be valuable, but we got to take it in and we got to say, all right, this is a tool. I'm going to experiment with this. Not that, I've got to carry half my body weight, half in one hand. Otherwise I'm not going to be able to open a fucking jar when I'm older. Like it's like, so that's where I think they're starting to get a bit irresponsible. I heard another one the other day say that, that ice cream is healthier for you than oats. That was interesting. A great example, by the way, for the person, living in the Midwest who's been eating, IHOP every day, who suddenly decided to eat some oatmeal because they want to get more fiber in. Like, great job. You got them back on ice cream. Like, you're irresponsible. You have influence. You have I'm not saying an influencer. If you have influence, you have a responsibility to do a better job and to lead by example. Please lead with good information and understand what you're saying to someone. You might think you're joking or you're not completely sure about the information. They're running home with it. And that's, you want to ask me the thing in the industry that drives me nuts. It's that we're glorifying a lot of these people now. I think it's a shame.
I heard a great rule the other day. I can't remember where this came out. It was probably some philosophy, whatever. I won't go down that, but it was basically like, before you think about recommending something or claiming something is beneficial for someone, think about, would you be okay if everyone started doing it? Like, as of tomorrow, you say like, ice cream is better than oats. What would happen if everyone started eating ice cream instead of oats? Would that be a really bad thing?
Right.
Yes. So you probably shouldn't promote it. Right. And that was his, like, that's how you define some kind of moral compass for someone who has influence. That's quite interesting.
I love that you brought that up. You made me think of a story in business. I was around a big Lehman Brothers person, top 5. And again, it was at the time where we were restructuring, and I had an opportunity to do a bachelor party in my club upstairs after hours. They wanted to bring in girls. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, they want to pay a lot of money. And I was like, this just doesn't feel right. So I went to my buddy. I said, hey, so-and-so. I told him about that. And he, you know what he said to me? He goes, let me ask you a question. If they had a picture of that on the cover of the Wall Street Journal tomorrow with the name of your club on it, how would you feel? And I said, thank you. And I walked out. And that was it. I never did it. Right? So it's valid what you're saying, and I think a lot of these people aren't thinking of that. A lot of these biohackers don't realize the level of responsibility they have, the level of influence that they have. I think they're reading. I think they're not applying. I think if someone's coming on saying, I lift 2 days a week and I look great, well, good for you. Like, I enjoy training. I enjoy training because I enjoy feeling a certain way. I want to look good. I want to feel strong, and I love it. And it's the one thing in my life that gets me back to that point. I could be in the worst fucking mood. I can wake up. I can feel like shit, whatever it is. And as well as anyone else, it's the one thing in your life you've got a lot of control over, because you'll leave there. You very rarely have left a session. Granted, you get injured. I'm not talking about a meet or when you're getting injured, but if you're leaving a typical session, you're never being like, well, that was a mistake. Right. So why are you turning around saying that? Oh, look at me 2 days a week. Like, yeah, look at you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, you're not, drives me crazy.
So as someone who owns a cold plunge then, in those scenarios, and again, I'm not sounding critical.
No, I want to do it.
What are, I believe you made a post about saying about how experience versus science, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
Science is saying don't do it, hypertrophy, and there's context to everything.
And it gets ignored.
So in your experience with things like cold plunges or red light therapy, etc., for people who are doing the other 80% reasonably well, which ones of those do you think actually have some applicability? What can we learn from the biohackers that is actually worth learning?
Perfect. I want to say something about the cold plunging. I will use the cold plunge certain mornings for 30 seconds, more as like an adrenaline shock. Like, I feel it's like a nice wake up. It's refreshing. I get in the shower. shower, I have breakfast, and I'm like, I feel like I just poured coffee down my eyes. I do follow the no cold plunging after a workout. I understand the importance of inflammation post-workout. I will sauna. I have an outdoor infrared. I'll get in for 15, 20 minutes. I'll answer emails till it overheats. That kind of eats up 15 minutes at a time. I sit in 5 more minutes of non-productive time of me just breathing, and then I'm out and I'm in the shower. So I really love it. The recovery modalities I use because they do add some benefit to what it is that I'm trying to enhance. But if I had to get rid of all of them right now, if it was a choice, like every recovery modality you have, or good sleep and good nutrition, it's not even a question. Like I said, I use red light more for the sunspot thing. That really, totally sunspots all down my triceps gone within about 4 to 6 weeks. The saunas I live and die by. I absolutely love. I feel phenomenal from it. And the plunge I use more as like maybe my off day. I'll jump in there after a sauna. Again, I feel great. It's a nice reset. It does help calm some inflammation down at times if I am overreaching. But like you said, good program design is going to check a lot of those boxes. And I'll use Firefly technology when I'm traveling on a plane because I'm sitting a lot. So like I look at it like amino acids. I don't use branched chain amino acids every day. Maybe if yesterday I'm getting to the airport, I'm waking up, I don't have time to eat, fasted workout, aminos workout. Right? If I'm in maybe some type of a dieting phase where I'm getting ready for a cover, I might supplement some amino acids. I don't use them all year long. I use them as a tool. I use it as tools.
And do you think that's the misconception then? Like you use the word tool there, as in something that has a role. It's like you don't always use a hammer for everything, for example. Is that the thing that people are missing? Is like, no, this comes in at a certain time when it's needed, but then it should come out or be used less frequently or whatever. Like you shouldn't, what I'm saying is if someone needs red light therapy, cold plunge, whatever.
They drive themselves crazy. There's not enough time during the day. Yeah.
A, you haven't got time. And B, you probably need all that stuff all year round because the underlying stuff is terrible.
Right. I think you said it.
Well, if it's the way I would see it, if it's a tool, you got a toolbox, you got the big tray. The big tray are your hammers, all the main things that you need access to that you should use all the time.
Yeah.
You pick that tray up, and then there's the bottom tray, which would be all these other things that we're talking about, right? You don't always have to go to the bottom tray, right?
I love vanilla chocolate chip ice cream. Like I like going in and just ordering it as its own, but if they serve it to me with hot fudge and some sprinkles and whipped cream and a cherry on it, it's nice. I'll eat it, but it doesn't have to be there every time I have it. Like people are, I think, focusing on the things that they don't really want to focus on the hard things. And for me, the hard thing is consistency.
Yes.
That's where like, I'll tell you, well, how are you so motivated? I'm like, I'm not always motivated, but I'm the most disciplined person I've ever met. Like I will go, and if I have to do it, I'm doing it. Like I just, to a fault, right? We'll take it to, no, it's just this, right? So, that's true.
So, I mean, obviously the biohacking is one kind of segue down there, which obviously hits a nerve. Good. I just wanted to hit that nerve again.
I'm sorry.
Also, then, another route to go down there where people are misled incredibly is supplementation.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you have an affiliation, is it with Thorne?
I do. I work with Thorne, and I actually love them. They've been really good to me. They were bought by L. Catterton, I think about 2 years ago, and they're trying to grow the company, and they've included me in all that, which I'm very grateful for. I love Thorne because they started as a research company, and they just decided they were really good at research, and let's start creating supplements. So they've been around a while. I think there's no denying that that's a great product. I'm helping them, put some additional things on the shelf right now. Hopefully we're going to be coming out with a grass-fed whey really soon, which will be coming out soon. We've got some nice travel packets, but again, like, are any of the supplements necessary? No. I do think there's 2 supplements now that kind of everyone could be.
Well, this is going to be my question.
Yeah. So like, I don't think anything is necessary, but I think like the 2 universal supplements for me now are, creatine. There's no denying the benefit from it. I think there's so much research. My parents could be taking it. My son could be taking it. And I'm really big into magnesium. I think if it helps you with your sleep, and most people, we will see some evidence that it will help you improve it, I think that's fantastic. Otherwise, like, is protein powder necessary? Well, are you getting enough protein? Is vitamin D necessary? Well, are you getting enough vitamin D? Like, it's just, I think it's a really simple answer. Some people reach out to me, they're like, well, I can't afford supplements. I was like, then put your money into food. But we are fortunate enough where we can, fish oil, like these things. Yeah, every day they're in my life. I have a protein supplement every day. You have, great products up here. The electrolyte mix, I think are something that I've really started adding over the last few years. And that's it.
Guys, I've seen this, is why I bring it up, when you're dealing with some clientele who say that have almost infinite budget. Probably, right? For some, then it must get so tempting to be like, well, let's cover every base, right? We're going to do this. And, that supplement list becomes as long as you're on.
But if they want it and it's not causing them any hurt and it's going to help motivate them, then I'm all for it. Like handing them a bag sometimes and saying, okay, here's your bag. We have your meal delivery set up. You've got your program set up on my app. Now all I need is for you to show up, and follow the shit I'm telling you to do. Sometimes that exchange becomes really motivated. But again, orange pineapple. That sounds interesting. That sounds good. Interesting.
So those feed like creatine and magnesium for like 99% of people, probably all that they need.
I like it.
You made what, I'm going to call you out here in a way.
Please.
You mentioned urolithin A on one post.
Yeah.
Now, I love that because I like urolithin A and no one talks about it.
The Timeline product is really good.
So talk to me about that, because I don't see many people using it, and I think it's cool.
Very, very simple. Very simply speaking, I started getting lines under my eyes at 46, 47, and they started getting pretty heavy. And I started, I was always paying attention to my mitochondrial health through like CoQ10 and things like that. But I got turned on by Dr. Gabrielle Line to this product by MitoPure. And it's really, they came out with a gummy recently, which is really nice. But when I started taking that a few months in, I noticed that my lines really started calming down and energy felt pretty good. So it's one of those things where I've never taken a supplement where I'm like, oh my God, I can't live without it. Like if you removed everything, I'll be fine. But there's certain things that you get on that just you feel like through your experience become habitual, right? It just becomes habit and you're like, oh no, I'm traveling, I bring this with me. And that's become one of them. So
sure, is that going to be a staple for you? Because I think it's fantastic.
I think it's fantastic.
What dosage are you using of that? Do you know?
1,000. I'm up to 4.
Yeah, it's okay. So that's a pretty damn good dose. That's one of the ones that for me, again, if you did that test of like, would you be okay if everyone took it? That one for me is getting
there. It's getting there. And I'm actually very observant. I mean, it's maybe one I should start including. Cool. But I think where people sometimes is there's a real cost to that. It's not an inexpensive supplement. So I promote the product, but I also don't want to make people feel like that you have to take this.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm always and again, I have a great relationship with Thorne. I love their products. I take their berberine. I take their fish oil. I take their protein powder. I take their vitamin D. I just never want people to think because I'm taking something, I feel like it's something that you have to take. If there's budget issues, if you want to put your money into something and you're going to take that money, it's either supplements or maybe a meal delivery service that's something going to make you more convenient with eating and better quality food. I'm like, go into meal delivery service. Thorne right now is probably like, oh my God. No, but they know, but that was my deal with them. I'm going to speak honestly. And, but people like supplements and I like supplements. So
were there any topics you wanted to go over that we didn't bring up?
No, this was great, by the way. I didn't even know where the time went. There's 2.5 hours. You guys are phenomenal. Really. This is totally one of my favorite podcasts to come out on. You guys ask great stuff. I appreciate it. I'm honored to be here, really.
Thank you. What's the best way people can go about finding you?
Man, Don Saladino on Instagram. My website's donsaladino.com. You shoot me a DM, I'll answer it. Might take me a couple of days, but I always like to get back to people. I could be sitting on the toilet. I'm still working.
Yeah. Funny how that works.
Yeah, it really is.
Any final thoughts?
No, you know what? I think this has become, this industry, it gets poked at a lot because we see things and we talked about things that we're displeased with. I do believe the way we can interact with people now has given such an incredible educational source. Like when I grew up, and you're not that much older than me, but I was reading you in publications early on, that really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I'm very grateful for that. I thank you for that. Your articles were incredible. The people that you wrote with next to, they were incredible. And that really helped pave my way to opening the doors for me to be able to seek out other means of knowledge. And now we're in a world where I think we have so much access And it could get confusing for a lot of people. But I think when you find some people like you that are real educators and have done it the right way, I think I would tell everyone to hang tight with you two. This podcast is incredible. I've watched several episodes, and I'm really impressed with what you guys are doing, and just keep leading by example.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And we're done.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
All content you see on this channel and at elitefts.com is created by, take a guess, Elite FTS. If you want to help support the content, head over to elitefts.com and pick up literally anything that you need to be able to get more jacked and strong.